Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome in. It is a very, very fine show as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Charlie Usen producing. Other side of the glass. Hope y'all had a fun weekend. Some nice weather, at least in southeastern Wisconsin today, in the 60s, approaching 70 degrees. So that's nice. And then I look ahead to this forecast, and it's raining the rest of the week. So that's.
It's still warmer though.
It's it's going to drop. It's going to be in the 30s.
It's not like that cold.
It's going to be in the 30s the next couple of days. The potential for snow, rain, all that fun stuff.
That's fine. We could survive.
No, it's not. No. My kids' travel baseball games start next Tuesday. I want all this done. I want 50s and 60s.
Builds character.
I don't know. Screw you and your character, man. I've had enough character building for my lifetime. Coming up on today's show, normally Tim Dillard is going to join us on Mondays at 2:20. However, today he's not going to be able to make it at 2:20. So today he'll be on at 3 o'clock. Perfect timing for Let's Talk About the Crew that we do every day at 3 o'clock. Brewers TV analyst, former Brewers pitcher, will join us then. Tyler Dunne of GoLongTD.com will join us coming up at 4:15. Now, he has a piece, a one-on-one piece with Javon Bullard of the Green Bay Packers. For those of you that want your Packers to hate the Chicago Bears, I found your guy. I found your guy that hates the Chicago Bears as much, if not more, than you hate the Chicago Bears, and one Javon Bullard with his comments about the Bears in this piece. So we'll talk to Tyler Dunne about that coming up at 4:15. But before we get to all of that, we got to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers. And I learned something today that I was not aware of because Charlie didn't bring it up last week. Tell everybody again what happened on home runs at your other job.
Oh, so we do an event called Roll Out the Barrel. We did it on Sunday this year. The past couple of years, it's been on opening day. But every time the Brewers hit a home run on opening day, if you're there at the brewery, you get a free beer, free Guitar City Gold. That's what it's called.
For every home run.
For every home run.
So let me see if I got this right. So when this happened here.
In all year. This one driven to left. It's back. And he cuts the deficit in half. One swing, and it's 4-2.
So when Gary Sanchez hit that home run, people got a free beer.
That was a free beer. People were lining up out the door.
Now that was the first inning, so you had a full house at that point.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so that's good to know. But then there was this one here that was pretty big too.
Guys, Christian, your first career pinch hit home run of all the big swings you've had in your career. You didn't miss it, and you knew it. How do you describe the feeling of that swing?
He should have said free beer for everybody. That's what he should have said.
I don't know if it was for everybody.
Do you think Christian knew that everybody was getting free beer at your bar at that point?
I don't think so. He said after the game that he wasn't really swinging for a home run. It just kind of gave him the right pitch, and he got a hold of it, and it went to the third deck.
I don't know. It was a monster.
2-2. Fly ball to deep right. It is way back and gone. Yearly delivers in the clutch.
That dude hit that ball, dropped his bat, stared into his dugout, let's go, screaming and yelling, and walked down the first baseline. Like, there's not a lot of showboat to Yelich, if we're being honest. There's just not, right? I mean, he's not that guy, but in that moment, he was that guy.
Well, he's been in moments like that before where he hasn't shown that same kind of emotion. It feels like he has this duty that he has this season to be that energy for this team, especially with a lot of these young guys maybe dealing with injuries, or they're still young players that are still trying to find their identity in the league. He's a guy who can come in here who's comfortable with who he is as a player at this point, and that is a pretty damn good player, and that he can come out here and be a high-energy player for a young team that's all trying to find their footing right now.
That's exactly right. And the leader, I guess, of this whole thing is Christian Yelich. And I was watching last night MLB Tonight, and I recorded it because I knew I was going to be watching something else. And then I went back and I fast forwarded through. They have like this MLB scorecard. And of course, the Brewers game was 9th. But I fast forward through it. I get to it. And Matt Vasgersian is just, Everybody downplays the Brewers, Jake. Every year, nobody believes in the Brewers. And here we are, 3-0, right off a winning week. And you know what? I know it's the White Sox, but 3-0, whatever. And PV was like, hey, man, like I was there a couple times the last couple of years. And I'm here to tell you, Yelich is the dude in that clubhouse. Like they all rally around Christian Yelich. Those young guys all follow that dude's lead in that clubhouse. He's kind of that guy at the end of the day. And it's when you hear it, you're like, really? Dude's so quiet. Like that's your guy. But yeah, that's their guy. And then Murphy after the game, that was even funnier because Murphy after the game is talking about, hey man, I told this dude after the game, or before the game that, hey, I don't want to use you, but if we're close 8th or 9th, we're going to use you. And it's probably going to be against the closer if we do use you, just so you know. Perfect.
He was ready for it.
Right. And Murphy talked about it's important to know roles. And that is something I have complained about for eons with Brewers managers as far as making sure guys know their role, making sure guys know what their role in the bullpen is going to be throughout the course of the year, making sure if you're a bench guy, you know ahead of time that, hey, you better start loosening up here because we may need you in the next inning or two. That type of stuff is very, very important. And I think that is a big reason why these guys like playing for him because he keeps them in the loop. Because mentally, if you're like, okay, I might have to play in this game, I got to kind of know what's going on and pay attention a little bit. If versus, I know I'm completely off, I'm not playing, no matter what, he said I'm not playing, I don't have to be as focused.
Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at this Brewers team too, and just kind of the grand scheme of baseball, even all across pro sports, a lot of these athletes are just becoming more fluid with the way that they play. They can do multiple things more at a higher level than anybody ever has before in baseball. I think you're seeing more five-tool players at one time in the league than you ever have seen before. So it's really easy to get lost in that and say, hey, we don't need to define these roles. We don't need to do these things because you know what? Maybe we will have a different closer next week than we have this week. That's happening more often. Maybe we will have guys being utility players, and now you have an all MLB spot for the utility players. These are the things that I think Pat Murphy looks at and says, yes, I can move forward and change the way I coach with some things, but other things just don't make sense to lose that. And he knows that, he recognizes that, and will stick to what he's always done. And something as simple as giving roles in certain situations in these games where other teams will look at that and say, hey, I have 5 guys that could potentially do that. I'm okay with just putting anybody out there. He says, no, I need this guy in this situation because that's where he's strongest.
And again, some of this is going to be, like you said, some of it's going to be a hunch. Right. Someone's going to be like, don't care the situation. I want my best player up there in that moment. Some of it's going to be based on stats and numbers of how a player is against a certain pitcher. And that's going to be kind of what it is. So the situation is going to vary from time to time. But regardless of all of that, when you're down, they were down early. I mean, Brandon Sproat was awful. Rough. He couldn't hit the strike zone to save his life. Then he gives up a grand slam. And there's still nobody out at that point. I'm watching on my couch going, well, then I'm texting with Tommy Wirtz. And I'm just like, you know something? If he didn't go use 100 guys on Saturday in a game that was completely in the control of the Brewers, he might have went to go get them earlier. But because he used 5 or 6 guys on Saturday, he couldn't. He was like, well, I don't have a day off because they play the Rays today. So you couldn't go that route. By the way, leadoff show coming up tonight at 5 o'clock. You couldn't go that route. So now you had to strategically be like, you have to get us to this. Either to this or you're going to get to your pitch count number, whatever that is, and then I'm going to come get you. But, son, you're going to be on your own to try and work your way through this. And if you remember last year, Quinn Priester went through a start earlier last year where he was god-awful. And then he kind of figured it out by the end of it. And Pat Murphy referenced that start the rest of the year about that's when I knew this dude was legit. Like, this dude is going to be okay. He figured it out and got himself through it. In that game yesterday, I don't know if Brandon Sprout ever figured it out or whatever, but they ended up coming back and winning the baseball game late. And when you have that type of offense, that means it's never over for any Brewers pitcher, regardless of what they give up early in the game.
Well, and talking about the grand scheme of baseball, just nowadays, I kind of expect teams in the second inning, in the first inning, if your guy's giving up 4 to 5 runs, you move fast and you start moving around with these guys. And I know the Brewers, like you said, couldn't afford to do that because of their bullpen plan on Saturday. But at the same time, it just felt like, oh, all right, this guy's going to get his confidence shot. But they left him out there and they allowed him to keep kind of pitching through and get to a point where he was looking more comfortable. Maybe not perfect, but just more comfortable. I think that's huge for this team. I think throughout this weekend, you saw Pat Murphy just give a lot of guys chances throughout this lineup, throughout the pitching rotation, throughout the bullpen rotation. And I think that's huge for the moving forward in the season, especially when you see an Andrew Vaughn go down with injury in the middle of the series.
This is the other thing. When we left here, Churio was hurt.
Yep.
Okay. And you knew Churio was out. You knew you had Priester on the IL. Yep. Okay, fine. We knew we had those two. Then the Andrew Vaughn news drops. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. Like the only way they are not going to be at the top of this division is if they just get besieged by injuries. Like that is going to be the only way this overtakes them. And not only did that not happen, then the Brewers turned around and said, hey, Jefferson Cuero, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll be honest. I rather would have said, hey, Andrew Fisher, come on. Like if we were going to pick who I wanted to come up in that situation, I would have picked Fisher over Jefferson Cuero to call up. But they decide Cuero's not only is he coming up, but then the next day I'm going to run him out there with another young guy. To me, gigantic mistake. Now, I'm not saying Sprout's control all of a sudden would have been magically better had Contreras been back there as a catcher. But I would trust a veteran catcher with a young guy in that situation versus a dude that's got a handful of starts with a guy coming up who's already nervous, I promise you, behind the plate his very first baseball game. And now you got both those dudes out there on an island trying to work through this guy, trying to figure out where his control is. That I think could have been a mistake. You could have put him with Harrison potentially the next day. He's had a full season of starts in San Francisco. He's got some starts with Boston last year with San Francisco. So that might have made more sense in putting Cuero out there with him. But I understand. Get his feet wet as soon as possible and don't let him sit around too long.
That, and I think just positionally what they're trying to do, and we talked about this last week with Andrew Fisher, is get him as comfortable at third base as possible. And I think giving him any kind of reps at first base or moving the two guys that you had at third base, and I know Rengifo didn't really have that spectacular
Had a big
game.
Hit, though.
He did.
He had a big hit yesterday.
But David Hamilton was really important. I don't think you want to start moving that around because his series, he just started off so hot for this team. I think you want to give other guys opportunities elsewhere. And when you have a guy like Gary Sanchez who can just move over to that first base spot or be the DH kind of intermittently with a Christian Yelich, you trust that more. And then Jefferson Cuero, who's a guy who's paid his dues in the minor leagues, unlike Andrew Fisher has done up to this point. I think you give him the opportunity too. And like we keep saying, it's the first series of the season against the White Sox. You can afford to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other part about this is what you said. You can afford to do this. Not every organization can do or afford to do what the Brewers are going to do right here at this point. And this speaks again about how good to great this organization has been in putting this thing together for the last 5 to 10 years.
The Chicago Cubs were going up against a Washington Nationals team that is in pretty much the same exact boat as this White Sox team. They have solid power on their offensive side. They can get going there, and they have a lot of young guys, but their pitching is just really not there. And where the Brewers took advantage of the White Sox by getting at their pitching over and over again in these games, the Cubs just couldn't do that because they didn't come into that series with the same kind of mentality that the Brewers do. It was from day one for this Milwaukee Brewers team. I don't think you see any other team across the league in my mind right now that is in that same mentality.
Trevor McGill after the game talked about the idea that, hey man, look, I wouldn't want to be dealing with this lineup because every guy in this lineup is going to make you throw 6-7 pitches. Every single guy. Like there is going to be no easy 3 swing and misses and go sit down in this lineup. Everybody's going to make you work to get them out. And when that happens, you know, you could wear and tear on that bullpen on a single individual pitcher that should have been out there sooner, but they're holding up on pitches that are barely out of the strike zone for ball 4 and getting a walk. And they struck out a lot yesterday, the Brewers did, and still were able to get themselves back. And Rengifo, hey man, that hit barely got through, but it didn't matter. It got through at the end of the day. And I think to a certain degree, he needed that little bit to feel a little bit of the love from the fans and everybody else getting that big hit. And then Yelich comes up, he's fouling pitches off, just battling away, and then just absolutely uncorked on the one that gave him the lead. This lineup may not have a ton of power like we all wanted to, but it's definitely difficult to face in your opposing pitching staff.
Well, and yes, maybe not a ton of consistent power, but you saw it throughout the lineup that a lot of different guys have that potential to at least hit a bomb. Sal Frelick hits the first one on opening day, and that makes you feel really good about the future. And then you have Jake Bowers, and then you have Gary Sanchez, a guy who's going to be a rotational utility player in the infield.
Gigantic.
He's huge. It's crazy.
And I mean, I don't mean gigantic like from a muscle standpoint. I mean, he's just a big freaking human being.
He's like a wall, a big boulder.
Yeah. He looks like a football player.
Well, and he, again, just unloads on a pitch like that. And that's why the Brewers are so willing to bring him back in this lineup, because they know they need a player like that who, maybe isn't going to hit 260, but can hit 220 and can give you 20 home runs throughout the season, just throughout when you need him to. This Brewers team has guys who are ready for the right moments, and I think that's really important.
The Milwaukee Brewers have made a trade. Just got this from Tommy Wirtz. The Brewers have acquired outfielder Luis Matos from the San Francisco Giants in exchange for cash to make room on the 40-man roster. Left-handed pitcher Sammy Peralta was designated for assignment. The announcement was made by President of Baseball Operations and General Manager Matt Arnold. Matos, 24, has spent his entire professional career in the Giants organization after signing as a non-drafted free agent July of 18 out of Venezuela. He has played in 178 career games in the major leagues, 23 to 25, making starts in center field, 73 games, right field, 52, and left field, 18. I don't have his numbers. Charlie will have his numbers. I will quickly tell you a Luis Matos story. In fantasy, when this dude got called up by San Francisco a couple of years ago, I snatched him. I was like, oh, this is going to be their future guy here in the outfield. I'm going to go snag this dude real quick. And it just hasn't worked out. And to get him for cash, am I missing something? Is there a different storyline attached to Matos? Why would you give up on a 24-year-old kid for money?
Because you've played him for at least half a season the past 3 years, and each half season has not been that spectacular. Last year was his best professional year with an OPS of 691 in 57 games for that team. He had 8 home runs and 22 RBIs, 9 doubles. He had 11 walks to 27 strikeouts with a 221 batting average. The year before that, he only batted .213. His rookie year, he had the most games played, 76 games, a .250 batting average with a 661 OPS that year. Again, just not really giving you much. And for a team in San Francisco who I think have done so much to rotate that outfield in and out every single year and giving a bunch of guys a different shot because they're trying to find somebody to be a stalwart in that group because they haven't been able to do that. I think this just feels like another guy that they're rotating through because they're fed up with not giving him that opportunity.
So last year in AAA, he had 159 plate appearances, 147 at bats, 293 at batting average, 327 on base, slugging a .510 slugging percentage, 7 home runs, 29 RBIs, 6 stolen bases last year in that time at AAA. That to me feels pretty good. Now, the concerning part about all of this, if we're going to be honest, with the Giants, you read off his numbers, 221, all that, not great. Here's another concerning part. Then he went to the Venezuelan Winter League to go play there. He had a .08, a .32 on base, .23 slugging. He had 65 at bats and only hit 108 and 65 at bats in the Winter League. Something is wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but something doesn't smell right about this deal if you're getting him for cash. There's something underlying that's not being talked about. Something's not right. Because I'm telling you right now, based on what he looked like in the minors, he should be much better. And I know Keston Hiura, Sparky. Maybe he's Keston Hiura. I don't know. But it's worth a flyer if all you're giving up is cash for Matos. You're going to come up here. Now, what does that say about what this current outfield roster looks like at this point? Because they can send him down in AAA. And if that's apparently what they're going to decide to do, we'll have to wait and see. Or Matos is going to be up at the major league level. And as we've talked about, they don't have a ton of depth in the outfield in the minor league system right now.
No, they don't. Defensively, he's not good. Last year, he had a -5 DRS with the Giants and 4 errors in the outfield just combined. a 953 fielding percentage. So again, it's just a guy that I think there's too many negatives for a team like the Giants who are looking for somebody to just be a slight positive in their outfield group. So they wanted to move on from that. The Brewers can afford to work with a guy like this. And like you said, for cash considerations, would you just slot him into the minor leagues, potentially bring him up in a spot where you need those reserve outfielders, especially with Akil Baddoo on the IL?
He's
with
out
Jackson
of minor
Chourio.
league options.
All right, so you got to play him at the major league level, which it kind of worries me about Jackson Chourio a little bit. If there's any other news coming with that, if you're willing to make, I know this isn't a big trade, but a trade still.
I don't know what the plan is. It's interesting. I mean, it's a young upside guy, and if it doesn't work out, you cut him and you move on. The Giants were designating him for assignment, so he was going down to the minors. If nobody makes a deal with the Giants for Matos, he was going down to AAA to play. That was going to be the deal with Matos, and the Brewers were able to pull off a deal for cash money to give themselves a chance at this. And yeah, I don't know. I'm anxious. I loved him in the minors. Like I said, 2 years ago when they called him up, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be the next guy. Giants fans were excited when they called him up. Like, this is going to be your guy. It just hasn't worked out over 2 years. So we'll see what happens. I like the dude. So doesn't mean it's going to work. We'll see. Coming up on the other side, we're going to change gears. We're going to talk about the NFLPA report card and Matt LaFleur. I know the other stations on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network have talked about this, but Charlie and I haven't had a chance yet. So we're gonna do that coming up next. I really, really like how the Packers are handling that situation, and I'll tell you why. Coming up next is Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie using with you. Don't forget, whether it be baseball, pro basketball, college basketball, hockey, they got them all going on right now at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, Potawatomi Casino Hotel. 48 beers on tap at the Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen. Full menu, homemade desserts and pastries made each and every day. You got brunch every day as well, served all day long. So those are you that got your breakfast taste going on. They got that going on every day. And 2 levels of seating, all kinds of different seating, high top tables, booths, single chairs that look like recliners, big comfy chairs. You can pick wherever you want to sit or reserve it ahead of time by simply going to Potawatomi.com. Again, Potawatomi.com to reserve your seat ahead of time. Nominal fee goes towards your food and beverage tab that night. And then, of course, free parking. Free parking is good. Don't forget they also have the shuttles to and from Brewers games, too, to take advantage of. Again, Potawatomi.com. All right, let's switch gears to the National Football League and the Green Bay Packers. Lots of stuff to talk about involving Matt LaFleur, and we'll get to a lot of that coming up during the Green and Gold update powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook coming up at 4 o'clock. In the meantime, we're going to play one of those clips right here because this was all the different beat writers. Ryan Wood, all these guys are down there. Matt Schneidman of The Athletic, all down in Arizona, and they're getting a chance to talk to all of these coaches that are down there for the owners meeting. So this is their first time really to have a conversation with Matt LaFleur in what seemingly feels like a couple of months. This is Matt LaFleur on players, not being happy with their roles.
If I'm being honest about it, I think there were some guys that were upset about roles last year, and I think that took a toll on our football team. So you need guys that bring great energy every day. I think from a coaching standpoint, role clarity is key. So we got to obviously do a better job communicating with our players. Hey, here's your role. And if you're unhappy about your role, it's on you to do something about that, to carve out a bigger role on this football team. But the buy-in is absolutely critical. Getting guys in there that are juiced, that are ready to go to work each and every day is going to be critical for us.
Are some of those guys no longer on your team?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into each individual, but I just think it's an overall, at least the overall philosophy that I have for our football.
Okay, so Matt LaFleur said pretty much the guys didn't like the role on their teams. That if you didn't like the role on your team, then do something about it. Pretty much play better. Do something about it. You don't like how much you're being played? Do something about it. And then Ryan Wood, I think it was Ryan Wood, followed up with, are those guys no longer on the football team? And he didn't want to get into that. But think about it. Quay Walker complained after he left and was on his way to the Raiders about his role and how he was used in Green Bay after the fact. So you would have to assume that Quay Walker may have been one of those guys. Nate Hobbs played, wasn't good, got hurt, wasn't good. He's gone. Now, I don't know if Nate Hobbs didn't want to play on the boundary. Maybe he wanted to play in the nickel role where Javon Bullard is. I have no idea. So could he have been one of the guys? Because he's gone too. When Charlie and I were talking before the show, Charlie brought up Kingsley Ngabari. He probably thought he should have been playing and not Rashawn Gary because, again, as we've talked about numerous times, Rashawn Gary just never ran out plays. So from that perspective, maybe he was unhappy. And maybe that's why they didn't bring him back. The question we have is this. Do you think moving on from guys who aren't happy is the best course of action? Guys that just aren't happy with their role. Is the best course of action to cut bait and be like, cut ties and be like, we're good. See ya. Go play somewhere else. We want people that are buying in, that are with us versus complaining and grumbling. We know Romeo Doubs. We had those situations over the last couple of years with Romeo Doubs. He's gone too. Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials, WI Sports Radio, streaming live on X and YouTube. Also, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook and all that fun stuff. Charlie, do you think it's best just to move on from guys who aren't happy with their roles?
I think when you are in the spot the Green Bay Packers are in, where you are so close to just breaking through that proverbial wall that's in front of you, where you have so many great players and Micah Parsons and Tucker Kraft and Jordan Love and Christian Watson and Zach Tom, that you should want to do anything that's in your power to get over that hurdle. And I think part of getting over that hurdle is getting rid of guys that aren't buying into the mentality that you are working with. And I think, yes, I do agree that when you are the Packers and there are guys that aren't as talented or maybe aren't giving you everything that you think they can give you, you need to cut bait with that and find somebody else to fill in that role. When you're maybe a team like the Cleveland Browns, you can deal with that stuff more. When you're the Raiders, you can deal with that stuff more. The Packers are at a point where they can't no longer deal with that.
So let me translate. If you suck, but the player's really talented, you'll deal with people complaining because they're too talented to let walk away. You may even pay that person to stay there long term because, again, you struggle to get talent in general on your football team, and you can't afford to let player X go, and you got to figure out how to make it work. I would say that's probably true. And when you are a really good organization and you have depth to replace guys, or you have veterans that can step in to replace leadership roles, then you probably don't have to deal with malcontents that don't want to be here and don't think they're better than maybe they are. Now, we're going to find out, right? I mean, Romeo Doubs goes and balls out, then we're going to be like, okay, he was right. He should have been a 1. He should have been getting all the balls. Fine. If he doesn't, and it looks like what we had in Green Bay, then he's going to realize he made a mistake and overvalued himself. Same with Quay Walker. Oh, you wait and see how I am when I'm using my new role with the Raiders. Cool. Him and Nakobe Dean. Both those guys were, I mean, I'm going to say dogs, but obviously they're Georgia Bulldogs. But they were unbelievable at Georgia, right? And Quay Walker was a guy that pushed the line with referees and others early on. And then, for lack of a better term, they neutered him. And then he wasn't necessarily the same, but he was showing flashes in Jeff Havley's defense of being something. But clearly, he didn't like the way he was being utilized. It seems like, you correct me if I'm wrong, he wanted to get after the quarterback. That was what the role he wanted. He wanted to go get the quarterback.
Well, and it also seemed like he needed to play with certain guys around him to be at his best. And everybody has been talking about the reason the Raiders went and got him and Nakobe Dean is because both of them feed off each other. And when they weren't playing next to each other, it seemed like they just weren't as focused in on the game or that they weren't as prepared for these games. So that's a problem to me. So, yeah, he probably did want to go and play in a certain type of defense with the certain type of guys that he wanted to. But, brother, you are not good enough to go and do that. You haven't proven that in your career. And the Packers, on their part, did try to give you guys that you played with and guys that you know and guys that were playing in the same system to try to get the best out of you. And it still didn't work. So now, yeah, go try to figure it out with the Raiders. But you can't be that picky when you haven't proven yourself yet.
This is the thing. This is in all aspects of life. This isn't just in football necessarily, right? I mean, I'm sure I could go to you, not on the radio. I could go to you off the radio and talk about your other job and be like, hey, do you have a person that thinks they're better than they are at your job? And more than likely, you could probably give me a name, 2, 3, however many there may be that think they're better than they are at what they do for their job, right? And same with the radio station. There may be some people that think they're better salespeople than they are. Or there may be some people that think they're better as a host than they actually are. And all of that. And they have bigger, not egos, self-evaluations of themselves, I guess, than what are true. I've come across a majority of my life, guys that think they're better than they are. And that's okay. You should think a lot of yourself and so forth. And sometimes you don't find reality until the next job. And then you're given the opportunity potentially, and then either you make a go of it or you don't. We go to the NBA. James Harden in Oklahoma City was like, dude, I want to be the man. I got Durant, Westbrook, but I can do this. Let me go do this somewhere. Houston said, all right, hotshot, let's see if you actually can. And he did. He was right, and he made himself look good. He gambled on himself, was right. A lot of guys gamble on themselves. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but you don't really know until you get that opportunity. And if you're the Green Bay Packers and you know they're not going to get the opportunity where they are in this organization, then your best bet is to let them go find out on their own. Plain and simple. Let's go to Ron in Rome. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. What's up, Ron?
Yeah, hi. Well, I've always thought for a while that Matt LaFleur has a problem communicating with his players that are dissatisfied, like Jair Alexander.
Yep.
And then when he said he doesn't talk to kickers. So if you have a manager like Pat Murphy who tells it like it is, and he's sometimes sarcastic, but his players love him. And then you maybe have a guy like Aaron Zavala. He's like, hey, I'm not happy with my role. Okay, ship him out. 99% of the
Correct.
The team is happy with you. But when you got a team with chronic problems and you get this whole kicker fiasco we had where the special teams coach is saying one thing and the kicker's saying one thing and Matt LaFleur saying another thing, I think there is a communication problem in that team. And he's the kind of person who avoids confrontation. Look, he didn't talk to anybody for 2 months or 3 months, whatever it is, after he got his contract extended.
That's correct. And that's
not communicating with the fans.
Correct. Yep. I hear you. Thanks for the call. That Savali deal is another brilliant example of you're going to the bullpen and he literally says, I'm not happy with this situation, but fine. And the Brewers and Matt Arnold were like, hey, no problem, man. I'll find somewhere for you to go. And they shipped him to the worst team in baseball, the White Sox. So go do it. And he had some ups and downs along the way with the White Sox for the remainder of the year. But that was a situation where, like, I don't need a bad apple. I don't. I got enough pitching coming. I don't need to have you. Now, if that's the Athletics or the White Sox for that matter, and that's a veteran, and you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to have to suck it up and deal with it because I can't afford to trade him at this point. That's going to be a big hole I can't fill. Then sometimes, you do have to suck it up and deal with it. Let's see here. Travis in Kenosha using the Nicolay Talking text line. Sparky, that's easy. Yes. If they aren't willing to work for their spot on the team, why should they even keep you? Scotty Tiffany uses the Nicolay Law Talking text line. Absolutely. Bad attitudes can destroy morale, especially if they aren't willing to step up to make themselves better in their position. And again, that goes for all walks of life in all aspects of life. That could be for a youth sports team. That can be for a job. That can be for anything where there's any type of competition involved. That whole bad attitudes can destroy morale. Absolutely. It becomes contagious. And one bad apple goes to another one. So if you got somebody constantly complaining about this and constantly complaining about that, and then all of a sudden the person next to him is like, he's right. And then they start complaining and then it spreads like wildfire. That's not good. And if you're a boss or a leader, you just X that person out and move on.
Well, and especially when you can see such a distinct difference between two sides in a locker room like this, where you have Micah Parsons and Jordan Love and Tucker Kraft and Javon Bullard that we're going to talk about later with Ty Dunne, just being so outspoken about their support for this team and the future of this team and wanting to be a part of that future versus the guys that just stay quiet and are not feeling frustrated with the way the season ended this year for the Green Bay Packers, which is wrong. You should feel frustrated when people want to talk to, I mean, I'm sure people wanted to talk to Rashawn Gary to be humble enough to just stand up and say more than what he did and say, yes, I'm frustrated with the way the season ended too. I'm frustrated with the way my season ended, but I can be better. I'm going to work to be better versus just saying, hey, that's kind of what happened, which is basically what he did. And this is not the type of mindset you need when you are a team, again, like I said earlier, ready to take that next step.
And expected to take that next step.
Right.
Not only ready, but expected to take that next step.
If you don't take that next step this year, there's going to be consequences for more than just a few guys in this locker room, in this franchise.
Tom Silverstein had a piece today in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and Green Bay Press Gazette talking about all this cap room that they freed up and who is going to potentially get paid out of this, and the fact that they could potentially still add players before the draft, after the draft, in training camp because they have so much money freed up. But talking about, hey, they're going to have to give an expensive extension probably to Christian Watson. They're going to have to give an expensive extension to Tucker Kraft at some point. Then on the defensive side, he fully expects them to extend Devontae Wyatt. They'll have a decision to make on Lucas Van Ness, whether or not they want to pick up his fifth year and do something with that going forward. So there's going to have to be decisions made one way or the other. And again, there's not enough money to pay everybody. So when you start talking about bad apples, who's all in, who's pulling the rope the same as everybody else, that all comes into the discussion of who's getting paid and who's not.
Right. And I think some guys probably feel safe with that amount of money floating around within the Packers organization, but I don't really think you should be. With the way this offseason went and Trey Hendrickson being available, Max Crosby being available, you have that every single NFL offseason. And if there are guys that can do the job better than you, that may be more expensive than what the Packers initially were willing to take, but they can go and get that guy because they they have that money and you're sitting there $10 million cheaper, but you're not as good, they're going to be willing to take that gamble over you. So you shouldn't feel as safe.
Packer fans, a lot more Packer talk coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. More clips from Matt LaFleur from at the owners' meetings earlier today. Also, Tyler Dunne from GoLongTD.com. You're going to go want to read his Javon Bullard column. If you're always mad because the Packers don't have the fire to go and be mad at the Bears and hate the Bears, well, Javon Bullard's your guy. May want to go buy a jersey today. He's your guy if you're looking for somebody to step up and say something. He said a lot in this piece about the Chicago Bears with Tyler Dunne. So we'll talk with Tyler Dunne coming up at 4:15. Also, Brewers fans, we'll got you still coming with more there too. Tim Dillard, Brewers TV analyst, normally joins us in this time slot, 2:20 on Mondays. Today, you got to go a little bit later. So he'll join us at 3 o'clock. And let's talk about the crew segment. Again, that comes up at 3. Bucks fans, I got one segment for you. It's coming up next. Bobby Portis talking about Giannis's future this season and whether or not he expects him to play or not again this season. That's next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Well, plans just changed because the Brewers apparently are on the verge of making a gigantic deal. Gigantic, maybe overplaying it, but they're in the process, according to Bob Nightingale, MLB insider, of signing one of their young guys to a long-term deal. Yeah, long-term deal. Is it Jesus Madej? No. Is it Jacob Mizorowski? No. William Contreras. Is it William Contreras, Sparky? No. Not. Andrew Vaughn. Is it Andrew Vaughn, Sparky? No, it's not Andrew Vaughn. No.
Luis Pena.
Tommy Wirtz pipes in over here. He's joining us shortly. How about Luis Pena, Sparky? No. It's not Luis Pena either. So we named off all these young guys, but none of them are the ones that apparently Bob Nightingale says the Brewers are going to sign an extension to. I know. Jake Bowers is getting the long-term extension, Tommy.
He might have priced out the Brewers.
Out the Brewers.
Yeah, he's getting Ohtani money, I heard.
Highly doubted. But instead, according to Bob Nightingale, Tim Allen is joining us as well in the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Here, the leadoff show tonight from 5 to 6:30 with Tommy Wirtz. And then afterwards, Potawatomi Sportsbook post-game show with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz as well. Bob Nightingale says the Brewers are on the verge of finalizing an 8-year deal for slightly more than $50 million. So that's just like $6 million a year, just over, with 21-year-old prize shortstop prospect Cooper Pratt, who had not played above Class A until this year. The deal will include 2 option years for about $15 million a year. Tim Allen, I bring you on, and then we'll go to Tommy. Your thoughts on this deal?
They love Cooper Pratt. That's obvious. And these younger players, what do we talk about, Stevie, months ago throughout the offseason? That seems to be the trend in baseball this year, or, maybe in the last year and a half or so. That's just seeming to be the trend with these younger players. Lock them in. The other thing, I don't know if this plays a part into it or not, but these guys are grabbing their money earlier and earlier and earlier in their careers. It's just, put yourself in those situations. You want to play for a mere, okay, I say mere, but you want to play for a mere $760 some odd thousand a year, toil away in your control years, or do you want to get, as you just said, about $6 million a year for the next 8 years, okay, and they've got him locked up for a decade? He was poised, and he looked good and confident in Arizona. And I'll bet you that raised their eyebrows, opened their eyes.
So let's talk about this for a second. On baseballreference.com, you can go on the website and look at all the minor league numbers as well as all the major league numbers, okay? So last year in Double-A at Biloxi, Cooper Pratt hit .238 with a .343 on-base percentage and .348 slugging percentage. The slugging percentage and batting average are horrible. The on-base percentage is decent at .343. Having said that, 8 home runs, 62 RBIs. He had 524 plate appearances, so it wasn't like he barely played at Biloxi last year. But the number to pay attention to here is actually none of those numbers, really. The number to pay attention to is average age in that Double-A Southern League was 3.8 years older than what Cooper Pratt was playing at in that league. Average age is around 24, and he played his age 20 season there, Tommy Wirtz.
Yeah, and on top of that, Cooper Pratt was a guy who a couple of years ago they were even higher on, right? He was a Gold Glover at the minor league level. On top of that, he's played great defense. I'm really wondering what the corresponding move is, and I don't know if I was talking with Tim on or off air now here, but now his clock can start too.
But this is the second thing that's happened today, because they already traded for Luis Matos, the outfielder from the Giants, who has no minor league options. And now you do the Cooper Pratt deal.
Right. And this Cooper Pratt deal, the first thought I have is what's next with the configuration of Madej, Ortiz, Turang, Pena that comes up. And do they expect Cooper Pratt to now be up here in 2026? I would be shocked if he's not, Tim, at some point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. That's a great problem to have when you have Pena's, you have Madej's, and you have Cooper Pratt's. That is all really, really good news. And my goodness, if their projections are right, I mean, look at the deal you get on a Jackson Churio, because guys, we don't really clearly realize it quite yet. That was a steal of a contract.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. Even if we knew when that happened with Churio, that was a steal of a deal. I asked Matt Arnold at the toy drive, did you guys do shots and celebrate after he said yes to that deal? And Matt Arnold started laughing and wouldn't get into it. But yes, we knew that was a great deal. And this appears to be a great deal too, especially if he ends up doing similar to Carolina. He had 295 in Carolina the year before, the 394 on base percentage. My goodness gracious. Tim, thank you so much.
Money.
Yes.
Money, generational money. It's huge. And they wouldn't do it unless they knew he had the talent.
We'll hear Tim Allen tonight on the Potawatomi Sportsbook Baseball postgame show with Tommy Wirtz after the game. Tommy Wirtz coming up at 5 o'clock with the leadoff show, 5 to 6:30. Up next, Tim Dillard. More Brewers talk straight ahead here on Wisconsin Sports Daily.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Hour number 2. How you doing? How are you? Lots of Brewers news going on. Brewers trade for Luis Matos from the Giants for cash. 24 years old outfielder. Did well in the minor leagues for the Giants. Can't believe they got him for cash. But the Giants were going to designate him for assignment. So then it was whoever wanted to make a deal could get him if they wanted. No minor league options left. So we'll see what the Brewers do with him. There's definitely potential there based on minor league numbers. Now, is he Keston Hiura? I don't know. I guess we'll see. And now this latest news from Bob Nightingale. Oh, my, oh, my, oh, my. Bob Nightingale, MLB insider, says the Brewers are on the verge of finalizing an 8-year deal for slightly more than $50 million to a 21-year-old prize shortstop prospect, Cooper Pratt. The deal will also include 2 option years for about $15 million a year. And with that, let's do this.
He's a former Brewers pitcher. You can hear him on his podcast, Buses, Benches, and Baseball. It's time to hear from FanDuel Sports Network Brewers analyst, Tim Dillard, as he joins Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
We got to change that. No longer FanDuel. We got to change it to Brewers TV. We got to change it to. For a second, when I looked up, I thought he had a bouquet of flowers in his shoulder. And I realized they're not shot. Is that wrapping paper?
No, these are baseball bats I got lying around. Anytime you can hold a baseball bat, you should. It's just, you feel cooler doing it. So that's why I do it.
Yeah, those are some colorful baseball bats at that. It looks like an Easter bouquet of baseball bats that you have over your shoulder right now. Yeah, guys, some Easter colors too, I think. Either that or my video is just not very good on color. Tim Dillard, first things first, I get your thoughts on this Cooper Pratt deal that just broke right before you came on. A long-term extension for Cooper Pratt that for 8 years is going to average somewhere in the area of like $6 million for Cooper Pratt. And now you don't have to worry about service time and all this other stuff. Now you can just go bring Cooper Pratt up whenever you want from AAA Nashville. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, pretty much Cooper Pratt is probably big league ready. I mean, he's shown that with the bat, shown that with the glove. The guy's an excellent defender. Very mature out on the field. It's hard to be an everyday shortstop too at that young of age. And could he pull it off? Absolutely. But I think what we're finding out is we've seen deals like this with Freddie Peralta, where they're able to sign him for what they think is a little bit amount of money for a lot of years. We saw it work out with Jackson Churio, what he's been able to do in the last couple of years. And so now they're probably trying to look at the future again, where they think, let's get this guy at discount because they think he's going to be a superstar. And there's no reason not to. Everything he's done has been amazing. Anybody with baseball eyes that are watching this kid knows that this guy's a big leaguer.
He is 6'4" at shortstop. That is a tall human being to be playing shortstop, number one. Number two, obviously that tends to lead you to believe that there is some power there as well. He hasn't really had that big power season at this point. I'm sure you saw him in spring training out there. Is there that power to be unlocked still with Cooper Pratt offensively, do you think?
Absolutely. And as far as height, I mean, look at Cal Ripken Jr. Look at Alex Rodriguez. I mean, there's something to these taller guys that can move. And who knows? Everybody getting measured nowadays, maybe he's 6'2" by the time he gets to the big leagues when it comes to the strike zone. But either way, the guy has exceptional skills. It's the only surprising thing is that the season's already started and now they're talking about it. This seems like something they maybe could have done in the off season or in spring training and be in kind of like they did with Churio, where they're like, hey, this guy makes opening day roster, but this guy may be one of the highest paid AAA dudes in the game if this works out. But either way, I mean, it's a good move for the Brewers. I mean, this is the kind of moves you have to make if you're not the Giants, if you're not the Dodgers, if you're not the New York Mets.
So I was having this conversation the last break with Tommy Wirtz, who does our leadoff show and our post-game show with Tim Allen, about Madej. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, Madej is going to get a ton of money. He's going to get more than this. And I said, well, they're going to try and give him the Churio deal, I would think, right? 80 million, that type of deal. And Tommy's response was, oh, no, he's going to get way more than that. And I turned it around and I said, okay, let's say you're the parent of Cooper Pratt and the Brewers come to you with this type of offer. And he comes to you, Tim, and goes, Hey, Dad, what do you think? Like, do you think I can make more than this if I let it play out? Should I take this deal now? Will I regret it later? A few years from now when I could be making even more? Like, how? Because God knows I'm not going to probably have that as a parent. So how would you handle that?
Absolutely take it. I mean, sure, there's some back and forth. I mean, there's been times where I'm like, I'll get, hey, we'll offer you this to play. And I'll go, no, I want this. And they're like, well, we'll give you free coffee at every affiliate. And I'm like, sweet, I'll take it. But you look at it, you said slightly over 50 million for 8 years, couple of options there. You're looking at 10 years, legit, maybe in the show, which is what everybody wants. Minor leagues, big, everybody wants 10 years in the show because after that you get full pension. You're going to have $50 million. You're taken care of for life before the age of 32. This is a no-brainer. Do it now because you still have a chance at that young of age to sign another deal if it all works out. If it goes the other way, then, hey, you're set for life. So, yeah, to sit there and act like, you know what, we're not going to take this, we're going to hold out for something more is saying a lot when there's a lot of unknowns. So this is strategic, I think, by the Brewers to kind of catch them off guard maybe a little bit in the minor leagues to go, this is what we're doing now. But if anything else, I mean, this may spark something with what you're seeing in the big leagues. Like, man, they're giving contracts to dudes in AAA. It's putting some pressure maybe on some of the guys in the big leagues.
I'm going to ask a question. If you don't want to tell us, you don't have to tell us. But you said full pension. So what does that mean for that player as far as potential money that they essentially get on a month-to-month basis or however this works for the pension with Major League Baseball players when they're done?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not up to specs. I mean, I get a whole packet for being a Major League alumni. It's a lot of words, a lot of reading. But at one time, it was around $250,000 a year once you retire. And the way they've done the collective bargaining agreement, they've cut it down from instead of 65, it was like 63. And then I think it's even into the 50s now. Like maybe you can retire at 55 and then you're getting $250,000 a year for life. Is kind of the nutshell of the whole thing. So yeah, some major perks when it comes to, getting that sort of time. It's abbreviated since whether you have a year or 5 years, there used to be thresholds. Now I think they go literally by days. So once you get full pension, I mean, it's pretty good. Life's pretty good. That's when you start going on Fox sports, and you start doing the pregame for the World Series and stuff like that. Like that's what you're seeing. You're seeing guys that are living off full pension because they can. Yeah, it's a big deal. And that definitely, you have to take that in consideration when you're looking at deals like this.
Tom Brewers TV analyst Tim Dillard, former Milwaukee Brewers pitcher, as he joins us here on the guest sideline. Powered by Gruber Law, one call, that's all. All right, let's talk about the Brewers' sweep of the Chicago White Sox. I think there's a lot of belief that the White Sox are going to be a better baseball team this year. Even though they got swept, they're still a younger baseball team that can probably take their lumps along the way. But that game yesterday, man, I'm on my couch watching this going, ooh, Brandon Sproat, this is not exactly how you want to start it for the Brewers. And then it's like, well, why don't they go get them? Well, they use like 5 or 6 guys on Saturday there. There is no off day on Monday. You have 3 more games in a row here. So I would imagine that probably played somewhat into what Pat Murphy was doing on letting him continue on as long as he did. And it worked out.
Had the Brewers lost the first 2 games, he probably would have been out after the 4th hitter. Or 5th hitter because, you want to win the game. But because they won the first 2 games, there's a little leeway there. Even Pat Murphy visited the mound, and it sounded like he was just telling him, hey, pitch for the name on the front of your jersey. Like, let's pitch it. Like, don't be scared. Like, let the defense play type stuff. You're going to see Sproat come back even stronger because let me tell you about the mindset of going out there and giving it up because that's exactly what I did a lot. I did it in the minor leagues a lot. I did it in the big leagues a few times. When you're the guy that goes out there when everyone else is trying hard and you're the one that drops the ball, it hurts. But the fact that they were able to come back, it's almost like, hey, we picked you up this time. Now it's time for you to get it done. And so the teachable moments there are going to be endless for Brandon Sproat. Like, I can't wait for the next time he gets the ball. He will get the ball again. He's going to get that chance, and he is going to pitch his game because I think the Brewers see what we see is that this guy has a chance to do really special things and pitch deep into ball games. That is not his game, giving up homers, giving up fly balls. He's a ground ball guy, can pitch deep in the ball game. So look for that next time out.
You talk about that game yesterday. Everybody wants to talk about the Yelich, game-winning shot. Obviously, that deserves a lot of attention. But I'll go to the bat previous to that with Rengifo when he comes up in that moment. And look, he's only had a couple of games here. Didn't have a ton of success one way or the other. But that was a big hit. It was a ground ball that found its way through into the outfield and kept that thing going. That was, to me, a bigger moment potentially for Rengifo's confidence and everything else going forward.
Well, Rengifo had a couple of at-bats before that where man was on
Line
second,
drives.
man was on third, and
Yep.
he hit scuds to second base. And so it ended up being a line out, but the thought process is there. Listen, if you're a coach and you are watching a guy, whether he succeeds or fails is sometimes not even the point. Was the thought process there? Did he understand the situation, and was he trying to do this? That's exactly what that was. You hit behind the runner in those situations. He did that, was not rewarded for it. Fast forward to the 8th inning. You got a couple of guys on base. Boom, right back up the middle, gets this whole thing churning. So, I think it was kind of a due moment. I think it was, you know what? You did what you were supposed to do. This was the payoff. But I'm going to go one even more than that. Between the bullpen, who, by the way, pitched every single inning like it was a tie game in the 9th inning. That's what it looked like. Every single pitcher that came out was pitching like this was Game 7 of the World Series. And Sal Frelick. Sal Frelick did so many things to spark this offense, spark this team that maybe could get overlooked. He stretched a single into a non-stand-up double, right? Like he probably shouldn't have gone, ends up getting a double. The next inning after that, he robs a double at least in right field, saves that entire inning. And then he challenged the call when he was going to be struck out, ends up walking and gets to first. All of this helped spark that offense to get to the moment. Because if you're watching the game, there was a big lull for about 3 or 4 innings where nothing was happening except for Sal Frelick in that bullpen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Tim Dillard joins us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. C. Sparky Pfeiffer with you, along with Tim Dillard. He'll join us on Mondays. Time to be determined Monday to Monday, depending on his schedule. Normally it'll be about 2:20 on Mondays. Otherwise, we can move it around to Tim's schedule, which I'm completely fine with. I want to get your thoughts on Murphy, because after the game, Pat Murphy talked about the fact that he went to Yelich prior to the game or whatever and said, hey, look, you're off. Unless this thing gets close, I may use you in the 8th or the 9th if we're in a close game, and it's probably going to be against their closer. Just so you're aware, I don't want to use you if we're up. I'm not going to, but if I need you, I'm going to come get you. And he talked about wanting to make sure everybody understood their roles, and that being a big part of what Pat Murphy believes in. And I know for certain that previous Brewers managers probably weren't as good at doing that with their players as Pat Murphy has been with his.
Well, I think it's seeing the game for what it is and getting players as prepared as possible, not just physically, but mentally. Hey, here's our plan. It could go sideways. I remember a coach told me, like, hey, no matter what, you're not going to pitch in this game. I'd pitched a lot. I was in AAA. We were in Albuquerque. Coach comes by, was like, you are not going to pitch. Don't even wear your spikes today. And I was like, sweet. I'm just going to sit in the bullpen and eat snacks. And it was a guy, Erasmo Ramirez. I call him the Godfather. It's not the one that's like pitching most recently. It's the Erasmo Ramirez that had been around a while. And he leans over and goes, no, you prepare like you are the first guy out of the gate, out of that bullpen. He's like, you prepare no matter what the coach says. And that's almost like fighting against some of that stuff because coaches don't know what's going to happen. So on the flip side of that, you got Pat Murphy that's going, listen, here's the moment I'm going to use you. I'm going to try not to use you. But if that moment comes up, you're my guy. Get prepared for that moment. And for Pat Murphy to have that, to be able to foresee that situation probably helped Yelich. I mean, Yelich is talented. He's legit. He could probably roll out of bed and hit better than anybody listening to this right now. Yep. But at the same time, if you can help a player get ready for a specific moment because of what you have in mind, outside of an injury or something like that, I remember in the 6th inning, I looked down and Craig Kashan and I were in the press box and Yelich has got his hoodie on. He's got his hat down. He's on the far end of the dugout. Wasn't really talking to anybody, just kind of chilling. And I said, I wonder what happens when the game continues. Are we going to keep seeing him down there? Sure enough, 8th inning, he disappears. You got to know he is hoodie off. He's got his helmet on. He's ready. In the cage. He's getting ready. And then you find the backstory is Pat Murphy's going, I was trying to pump into him how to prepare for that exact moment. So because after that, a coach can only prepare you so far. They can only take you so far, and then you have to pick up everything else. And Yelich absolutely did that. Very magical moment.
There is a quote from Sal Frelick talking about the mantra kind of this dugout of drag the next guy with you, drag the next guy with you. And that momentum that builds, one guy gets on and you want to take the next guy with you and get him on, and let's keep moving forward. And the fact that dugout was never rattled being down, that they had all the confidence they could get themselves back into it. And that is the exact same story we heard last year under Pat Murphy. That's the exact same story we heard 2 years ago under Pat Murphy. And I hate to be a broken record here, but you keep predicting this team to win 85 or 86 games. They continue to win in the 90s. Pat Murphy may win 10 manager of the years in a row before this whole thing is said and done.
Well, I mean, that's presumptuous.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, if they win 95 games again this year, Tim, he's going to win it for a third straight year.
Absolutely, he is. Absolutely. And can he do it? Absolutely. But
yes.
I think he could care less. He does not care about.
You're right.
You spend 5 minutes with Murph, you'll find out what he cares about. He cares about his family. He cares about the people in his circle. He cares about the people in that clubhouse and about getting it right. And that's what he's doing. He's trying to get this team to get it right. Listen, you're down by 7 or whatever it was, 5, early in the game. That is nothing. And we saw that in years past, like you said. But what's different is there's some new guys. There's some new guys like, hey, we don't know where you came from last year, but this is nothing to us. And guys that have been around have to prove that. That's why I brought up Sal Frelick. Sal Frelick put on a display of what you do regardless of the score. If you have a kid and you're watching baseball and they love baseball, get them to watch Sal Frelick and how he approaches the game, how he plays the game, and how you can kind of be, kind of on the outskirts, maybe in the big moments at times, but play an integral role on getting to that moment. Because a lot of times that doesn't get the love it deserves. You could put Garrett Mitchell in that boat as well. But there were so many amazing things that happened in the game yesterday that should encourage the new guys. Just be like, wow, this is what it's like to be a part of this team. But again, the White Sox, even though they've been the White Sox and they've lost, triple-digit games the last 3 years, that doesn't really mean that much. This is a completely new team. They are very good. They are going to be good. And I think the Brewers, I don't want to say lucky because they earned it, but they were very fortunate to win that third game, because I don't think this White Sox team is going to be the same White Sox team we're seeing now in 3 months. I think by the All-Star break, you're going to see a completely different revamped team that's turning things around.
One last one for you. Harrison gets the start for the Brewers up next here. What do you make out of him and what you saw of him in spring? And then obviously we saw him with the Giants as well.
Well, another great arm. So, number one, the Brewers, as far as opening day, had the youngest pitching staff in all of baseball. And at the time, they were the youngest by like a year. I think some changes have happened. Now they're the youngest by like half a year. But Harrison's right in that as well. Left-handed pitcher, found out a kick change in I think like August of last year or September, started throwing this thing. It really got the spotlight it deserved in spring training. I think it even got him a blister maybe, but learning new pitches. You talk about honing your skills and what you're doing. I mean, this guy is going to go out there. He just saw what Sproat did. He saw what Mizorowski did. He saw what Chad Patrick did. And now it's his turn. So when you're in the dugout and you're able to watch some of these games and kind of get a feel for what's going on, you get one or two ways. Either you can't wait to get the ball and get out there, or you're a little bit scared. And there's no reason to be scared, because with a defense like that and an offense like that, I mean, look for him to go out there and really command the baseball and maybe give the Brewers fans something they haven't seen before outside of a veteran, older lefty, a lefty starter that can go out there and pitch deep in the ball games. I think that's the goal here.
And they could really use a starter to go deep in the ball game tonight after the last couple of games, having to use up that bullpen. He is Tim Dillard, Brewers TV analyst. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. We'll talk next week.
All right, Brewers TV, go check it out.
Yeah, there he is. Tim Dillard joining us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Don't forget the leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz comes up tonight from 5 until 6:30. And then after the last pitch, you make the switch to the Potawatomi Sportsbook baseball postgame show with the franchise Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz coming up tonight. Take a quick time out, come back on the other side. Lots of happenings in the NCAA tournament over the weekend. And Dan Hurley doing Dan Hurley things. That's straight ahead on Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome in. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen producing the show today. Still to come, we're going to have Tyler Dunne, golongtd.com, coming up at 4:15. If you're trying to find players that hate the Bears as much as you hate the Bears, or maybe hate them more than you hate them, or maybe just hate the city of Chicago in general more than you hate the city of Chicago, ding, 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 ding. I think we found our guy. Tyler Dunne spoke with him today for golongtd.com. Long piece. Very, very well done, as always, by Tyler Dunne. So stay tuned for that coming up at 4:15. I want to talk about the NCAA tournament, and we'll get back to the Packers coming up at 4 o'clock. We're going to go update some more from Matt LaFleur at the owners' meetings. Charlie Sounds of the Day coming up as well. Lots of different things to talk about. Tennessee and Rick Barnes are done, and they were eliminated. Michigan made relatively easy work of them. And Rick Barnes in his career is known for going home early in the NCAA tournament, especially when he was at Texas. They packed lately because they didn't expect to go anywhere after the first weekend. There was a running joke on Rick Barnes back when he was the coach at Texas. Now, Rick Barnes is, 70 years old, somewhere like that. So he's been around for a while. I found this very interesting from Rick Barnes after, I think it was after the game, maybe it was before the game, but Rick Barnes talking about the NIL era and coaching and recruiting.
I'm blessed, and but I do. I love coaching basketball, and I do know that God will make it perfectly clear when my time's up. And I've said before this week that I'm in a wonderful situation at the University of Tennessee, and but I don't know if I would say that if I were those guys, because I will say this: it's easier today than it was back then, because today it's easy. You can recruit a guy now for a week and get him. You know, I mean, hey, just what's the number? But in some ways it's easier. And I'm being brutally honest, it really is, because it's different there, but the stakes are higher. When I got in it, I think there were maybe 150 teams, Division I teams. Now there's 300. And people, obviously, with what's at stake now, everybody wants to win.
The funny thing about that quote to me is it's that way when you have a bunch of NIL money at your disposal. What's your price? Okay, yes, we'll sign for that number. No problem. We got you. But if you're Doug Gottlieb at Green Bay, you can't do that. If you're Bart Lundy at Milwaukee, you can't do that. And for the most part, if you're Shaka Smart or Greg Gard, I don't think necessarily you can get into completely, fully playing that game of what's your number at the end of the day. We've had Bart Lundy on this show. Bart Lundy talks about it. Some guy comes in wanting to talk about money from the first time he steps foot on campus. Probably not going to be our guy. Probably not going to work out. I think Doug Gottlieb in Green Bay is the same way. But when you're at a power conference with a bunch of NIL money to spend and you have a big pot of money to throw at these kids, you could have a conversation and sign a recruit in the week. The issue is that not everybody gets to play on that same ball field like Rick Barnes in Tennessee.
No, and at Tennessee, when you are a school that big that is playing on that type of ball field, I think a lot of people kind of expected that you were playing on that ball field before the NIL, the whole world was going on, which means you were already paying players. You were finding ways to get them different types of resources that could help them be financially stable or get them the cars that they wanted. Like, it wasn't a secret. It was the biggest untold secret that everybody knew across college sports, is that the big schools were already paying their players. Miami was always paying their football players. Texas Tech was always paying their football players. Tennessee is a school that's always going to find ways to have money. Now you're just doing it in the light of day. So yeah, it's easier for him because he doesn't have to hide it anymore. But when you're a school that wasn't playing on that grounds before, when you are UW Green Bay and you don't just give out money, and it's very unlikely that some of these even private schools are doing that, it's just strange to me that a lot of these coaches are so willing to say, yeah, it's so easy, I got it down, when they know damn well that they've been playing in this same kind of league for the past 30 plus years.
That's correct. And that's the other part about this is you've got these older guys that have been around a while now, right? Like Rick Pitino at St. John's. They're gone. They're knocked out. But he gets a contract extension. He's in his 70s, man. And they just gave him another gigantic contract extension at the end of the day.
Well, and I think for a guy like Rick Pitino, the fact that he's gotten in trouble for recruiting violations in the past, probably in this world of college basketball, college sports, says that he can do that he knows how to pay money. The fact that he got caught means he's done it before, which means we want to keep that around as long as possible, because there's a lot of coaches, a lot of people around college sports that don't understand how this works. And he knows how it works because he was doing it illegally first.
There's obviously also the big game between Duke and UConn, a game that at halftime looked like was not going to be much of a game. Duke was up by 15 or so there at one point in that game. And UConn fights itself all the way back with a crazy, crazy shot.
Mullins tosses it up. Oh! It's good! With point three! UConn goes in front! Utterly impossible. March means drama! The deflection, the reaction, and then the major nuggets out of Indiana. They all can shoot. Nylon from deep. Astounding. The freshman, Braylon Mullins. What a play. All Duke had to do was hold the ball there. Absolutely. They didn't need to get rid of it. No backcourt violation, nothing.
So, first of all, you have to see the video, Rafferty. Rafferty looks like he was going to die on set. Like, he is like moving back in his chair. Like, again, I'm going to use a reference that Charlie is not going to understand. But if you go back to Sanford and Sons, right, and you're grabbing your, I'm going. That's what Rafferty looked like. Like, I thought he was just going to fall over and potentially die on set. I love Bill Rafferty, one of my favorites of all time, right? So that reaction was amazing. Like, he was just in complete stun, like absolutely shocked by what he was watching happen on the basketball floor. Amazing stuff. And for a freshman to pull up and hit that three for UConn was amazing, Charlie.
Yeah, but that's just UConn. That's just Danny Hurley. Like, this is a team that has resiliency no matter what year you're watching the UConn Huskies. It's a team that's going to be fighting all the way through the majority of this game. And that's because that's Danny Hurley, and he's going to be fighting through all of the game. Whether his team's down by 40 points or up by 40 points, he is still chewing at the refs. He's still yelling at his players. He's still going 100%. And that's how you win games like this. He's a guy that's like that, and this is a school and program that's like this. A lot of these, in my mind, kind of basketball schools, so like the Villanovas too, have the same kind of mentality when they get into the tournament. Even Marquette, to some degree, has this type of mentality when they can get into the tournament. You just got to get there first, and then when you get there, the Big East teams, the basketball teams, know what to do in those moments.
Crazy. Shire, the coach at Duke, blew a 9-point lead against North Carolina State in the 2024 Elite Eight. Blew a 14-point lead against Houston last year in the Final Four in 2025, and then a 19-point lead this year against UConn in the Elite Eight. And I saw, who was it that I saw? Jay Williams, I think, came out and was like, if anybody's calling him a choke, you don't understand, and so forth. Listen, I'm not calling him a choke. His record is unbelievable for the last 3 years. Win-loss record in the regular season. It's probably the best in college basketball of anybody. But like when you're the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, you're expected to win championships, right? That's what you're expected to do. And as great of a regular season as he may have every year, and the fact that he is a former Duke basketball player helps. But I'm telling you right now, that alumni and fan base is not going to handle this very long if he can't finish the deal here at some point.
Some point you have to take that next step, and the AP poll will recognize it before all your donors and stuff will. And the moment that Duke starts sitting consistently at a 15 seed or starts falling deeper, like you've seen with Kentucky, like you've seen with Kansas, the hot seat becomes way hotter. So when they start seeing those results saying that you can't finish and that the voters know that and that the rest of the league knows that, the donors are going to get scared, and you can't have that happen in today's NIL world.
One seeds were 134-0 when leading by 15 or more at halftime before yesterday. Now 134-1, Charlie.
Well, somebody's got to be the one, right? Eventually. That's something cool. You're in history. That's fun.
It's now been 11 years since Duke has played in a championship game. The Devils have signed 36 5-stars in that span, more than any program.
And they all still go to the NBA and play well. Like, they're doing the same stuff they have, just other teams are doing that too now.
The last time they played for in a championship game, a freshman on that Duke basketball team was in second grade.
That's crazy. It's just nuts. Well, and then maybe somebody on that team was probably still playing college basketball at the same time, too. That's what's crazy about college basketball nowadays. You got guys who are 28 years old and guys who are 17 years old.
And I'll say this. I felt bad for Caden Boozer because it was obviously a horrible decision. Like, that was the absolute worst thing that could have happened.
Well, isn't that Shire's fault, though?
Shire
why,
told him.
Why are you advancing the ball up the court like that?
Shire didn't tell him to advance the ball up the court like that. They asked him, what did Shire tell you? Not that. They told him to be physical and
I also don't think he's going to throw his coach under the bus. And
there's no way Shire
in that whole press conference that Boozer did, he was talking about how bad he felt in the moment, that like it's on him. That's all these other things. I don't know. I think I've been in those moments before where it might have been on the coach. It might have been on one of these other situations, but you're so in your own head that it is all on you in those moments. And he's not going to throw his coach, his team under the bus. So I think there's something to it where like this guy who hasn't done this all season, all of a sudden just randomly does that, doesn't make me think it was all on his own.
All right. So let's talk about what's next. UConn now Saturday night gets Illinois. Arizona gets Michigan. Speaking of Illinois, our guy, Brad Underwood, who we like to talk about on this show, who all year has complained about referees out to get Illinois, screwing Illinois, filing in all these plays throughout the year of how Illinois is getting screwed. I'll be honest. I didn't think they were going to make it to the Final Four. I had Duke as my national championship. I had Iowa State in the game against Duke. Both of them are gone. My bracket's up in flames. Having said that, Underwood talked after his team won and now are in a position to go to the Final Four and play in the Final Four. This is big for me. I'm playing this because everybody gets on Greg Gard for not getting back to the Final Four, not getting out of the first weekend and all of that. Listen to Brad Underwood talk.
I never doubted, and I don't want to sound arrogant, I've never doubted us getting to a Final Four would happen. I've thought we've had other teams capable, but I also know how doggone hard it is to do it. And for that, I just say thank you. I say thank you to everybody involved. And I'm going to get emotional, but it's I've been doing this 39 years, and you dream about this as a kid, and I dreamt about doing it at Illinois back in the day when my wife bought Tyler, who was maybe 2, a Brian Cook jersey, and you knew what a special place this was, and it always has been, and there's been no other thing for me. This is my dream job, and it's very fulfilling to get where we're going.
That's cool. I'm not an Illinois fan. I'm not rooting for that dude in the tournament, regardless of that. But that gives you an idea. Guy's been at this for almost 40 years, is at his dream job, and finally busts through to get this thing done. And I would assume Greg Gard is going to be an emotional wreck if he ever gets Wisconsin to the Final Four because of everything he's gone through as the head coach at Wisconsin.
And as he should be. Again, it's a big deal to get to this point, especially in a career and a field where it's so hard to get to this point.
Yes.
There's only 4 teams out of the initial 64 that you're starting with, out of the hundreds that you're beginning with at the beginning of the season. It's hard to get to this point. So the fact that you have some of these coaches, Danny Hurley, going all the time is a great testament to who he is as a coach. But even going once is a great testament to who you are as a coach. It just is kind of unfortunate that I think some people get numb to that. Again, in today's world of NIL where money talks and storylines, guys being there forever, being around forever, don't matter as much as the money does.
UConn's winning it, aren't they?
Kind of feels like it.
I mean, there's good coaches left. May at Michigan, I'm not a big fan of, but you have to give him credit. Obviously, he's in the Final Four. Miller has done it time and time again, regardless of where he's been, even through all the controversy. So you got that going on. And then who else am I missing? I'm missing somebody else. Oh, Underwood. And then Underwood. Mm-hmm. But again, he's not been here. So I just feel like it's UConn at this point. I mean,
and I've seen Illinois look slow. I've seen Michigan look slow at points and feel like they give up leads. And if they give up leads, they're not going to make that type of comeback. So they have to stay in front the whole time. UConn seems like the only team that can play a full game through all aspects of the game.
Now, having said that, there was a video out there of our guy Danny Hurley going nose to nose, forehead to forehead with a referee after that shot got hit. His suit coat is half off of him, just hanging off of one shoulder, walking around like, you know what, done stink, being that guy. And then walking around, looking up at his crowd. He looks like a complete idiot, jerk. There's a lot more.
He's in the moment.
I don't want to swear on the radio and get fired. Sam Decker quote tweeted this and said, I have no bias here. This is a tech 10 out of 10 times for multiple reasons. It would have lost the game for his team. He would have tried to fight the officials like he did nothing wrong. I just don't understand it at all. Also, referees need to grow a spine in instances like this.
Well, the reason
this got brought up on 9 to Noon with John Kuhn. And John Kuhn said, I bet you a bunch that he's boys with that referee. They have a long relationship, and that's why the referee didn't do anything.
That or the referee was told by the NCAA the last time that something like this happened, Danny Hurley went on a full trailblaze across every sports show possible, name dropping the referee, saying that he made a mistake over and over again, bashing the NCAA. So the NCAA just said, you know what? He's going to do this stuff. It's Danny Hurley. No, let him do this stuff.
You cannot allow Danny Hurley to do whatever the hell Danny Hurley wants to do. Like, absolutely not. You cannot put your hands or your forehead or your nose or any other body part onto a referee. And he didn't, he was like nose to nose. The referee was talking. I don't think Hurley said a word. He just listened to him and then walked away from him.
Talking about not having a spine, the NCAA is very well known for not having a spine,
well,
so I wouldn't be surprised.
That's fair. Hey, I'll tell you right now, if you want to watch more great college basketball action, all you have to do is go to the Potawatomi Sportsbook. College, pro basketball, hockey, Major League Baseball, all there. All sports that you may want to watch are there. They can show you 30 different sporting events at one time on their 2,000 square foot screen. You can reserve a seat ahead of time by going to Potawatomi.com. Nominal fee goes towards your food and beverage. And again, all kinds of different seating. 2 levels of seating at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. It's amazing. And then right next to the Potawatomi Sportsbook is the Annex. More TVs in that room, a whole wall full of betting kiosks that you can use. They have sofas and tables and everything in them that you can hang out and watch in there if the sportsbook isn't your jam, which I don't quite understand how the sportsbook wouldn't be any sports fans' jam, because it's like the best thing on planet Earth right now in the Midwest. So again, check it out today. Go to Potawatomi.com for more details. Also, don't forget, they have those shuttles that go to and from Brewers games. They leave before the game, take you, drop you off, pick you up, take you back. Now, you do have to make a purchase at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, whether that be a soda, something to eat, whatever. Then when you make the purchase, tell them you want to take the shuttle. They'll give you a bracelet so you can get on the shuttle, and off you go. And again, free parking at Potawatomi. And it's covered parking because it's in a parking garage, which is even better. So take advantage of it today. Charlie, sounds of the day up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. You know what? I'm going to go diva. That's what I'm about to do. I'm about to go diva. I am. I'm going to go diva right now. You know what I'm going to say? We have this camera in here for our live streaming on X and on YouTube, WI Sports Radio. Go check it out. And you can watch the shows live here. Lead off show 5 to 6:30 with Tommy Wirtz getting ready for Brewers baseball. After the last pitch, you make the switch. Potawatomi Sportsbook baseball post-game show with Tim Allen, Tommy Wirtz tonight after the Brewers and Rays. So we have a camera in here. And if the light is like blue on this camera, not that means anything to you, that means it moves with you. If the light is green, that means it stays. So I don't pay attention to this stupid thing. So I walk out of the studio to go get a water, even though I had one already because I'm old. I come back and me and Charlie are talking. Music starts. Charlie's like, fix the camera. Happens at least 3 to 4 times a show. I'm going to have 2 other cameras I'm going to buy myself put in here. Okay. So at least one of the 3 cameras, hopefully, will stay all the time and we don't have to continue to screw with cameras.
Right before we came on air, Sparky was also talking about how this is such an awesome job and that people who complain about anything in it are wrong. And then he immediately comes on and complains about something apart.
Correct. That's exactly so true. I said exactly that. Anybody complains about this is stupid because this is just the greatest job in the whole wide world, regardless of what the pay is. It's a fun job to do. And I'll stand by that going forward. Okay. So let's see. What do we have? We have like 4 minutes. We're not going to do this here.
We don't really have a lot of room for it.
No, I don't care. We're not doing it here. No, we're not going to do it here. So we'll save Charlie's sounds of the day for a segment coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour. Where it's going to be, I don't know yet. But this is what I do know. Wendy's has the official Dunks of March Madness, which means you get the iconic chocolate frosty paired with fries. It's the perfect opportunity to dunk crispy, salty fries into a decadent chocolate frosty. It gets even better because when you order from the official Dunks menu, you'll automatically be entered for a chance to win a variety of prizes during March Madness. Order from the official Dunks menu today. Download the Wendy's app for the official Dunks menu for a chance to win big this March Madness. Hey, I got a quick story here. So over the weekend, I took my 10-year-old and his friend, and then the 3-year-old, and we went to a movie in a movie theater.
And that went good?
So we went. First of all, I did not realize how much it costs to actually do this. So it's me, 2 10-year-olds, and a 3-year-old. Between tickets, something to drink, and then popcorn and candy or whatever. I let them each pick out a candy, and then we got a big bucket of popcorn to split amongst us. It was over $100 bucks.
I was gonna say, you got to go Tuesday nights.
Everybody goes
That's where Marcus
Tuesday
has
night.
the $6 tickets. I'm going tonight for a $5 movie.
No, I was not putting her in a crowded theater. That was not going to be a good idea.
That's true too.
So she ends up just moving the chair up and down the entire time, crawling over everybody. And it was that Hopper's movie. And can I just say something else really quickly? Does every Disney movie have some really tragic, horrible, sad part in it? I swear to God, In and Out has horrible, tragic parts in it. This movie had a horrible, tragic part in it. It's just all of them.
Ever since Nemo, I think they've just felt like they've needed to do that because Nemo starts with that, and then Up starts with like a really sad moment.
That's another
too.
one.
Yeah, they all start with this. So I think it gets people engaged. I think there's like, oh, adults like sad, emotional stuff, so that's how we'll get them to watch instead of just making the movie good. So,
do you know what I read about that?
What's that?
I read about that apparently Walt's dad died early in life or something happened. That's kind of the tie-in of how this whole thing came to be.
That seems like a made-up tie-in. I think it's because they want to get adults to actually pay attention to their movies sometimes. Yeah.
Then
some of them are good. Just these ones lately have been bad.
That Hopper's movie. I mean, it was fine. I mean,
that's
both
what
the 10-year-olds were like,
fine,
the 10-year-old was like, yeah, this was too sad. Like, I'm not really into this whole deal here. But either way, first time at a movie theater with a 3-year-old, a different experience, I would say.
Well, you guys all survived, and that's what matters.
Right, absolutely.
You watched the movie. You made it through the whole movie, right?
Through the whole movie. Okay. We left twice for bathroom breaks. Other than that,
that's not bad.
We were fine. Tommy put the over/under at 2.5.
Okay.
When I told him we were at the movie theater, he goes over/under 2.5.
I would have taken the over on that too. Yeah,
I was like, I don't. The 10-year-olds were fine. They never left. It was just the 3-year-old. I think it was more she was getting bored than it was anything else. But either way, so we survived. We did it. Take a quick time out. Come back. Other side. Matt LaFleur down at the owners' meeting, holding court with all the Packers beat writers, addressing all kinds of different issues. We'll hear from Matt LaFleur. And Tyler Dunne, GoLongTD.com, joins us at 4:15. to tell you about the Packers player that hates the Bears and hates the city of Chicago. Oh, finally, we got somebody we can buy a player jersey of. We'll talk about that coming up next. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Time now for your fan weather forecast brought to you by Integrity Exteriors. Is this right? 78 degrees and sunny outside. Oh, my goodness. Real feel of 78. Low tonight of 55.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
It is time again. Howdy! It is 4 o'clock on a Monday. Warm outside. That's good. A little bit closer. Before you know it, we'll be in the 30s by the end of the week, and everybody will be back to normal again wearing their winter jackets. If you're watching on X right now, on YouTube, or at WI Sports Radio, you will see that I am wearing my Brewers jacket like normal. And I had to go get my kid from a basketball camp earlier today, and I was wearing it outside while everybody else was walking around in T-shirts and shorts. And I have to go to an outdoor baseball practice after this, and I'm going to be wearing my jacket. I like wearing jackets.
You're so weird.
Yes, I am.
I'd be sweating so bad. I sweat bad when it's 55 and I'm wearing a jacket.
Really?
Yeah. Like I wore a sweatshirt today. I was debating whether or not I should. I'm wearing shorts otherwise.
So what you're going to learn, because you have your own desk now kind of over there, is just to keep a pair of shorts and a T-shirt or a sweatshirt and your thing a little above your desk or whatever.
Tommy's got a whole closet on his side, I think, so I could probably just borrow from him if I need.
I'm just saying, like it makes good sense to keep clothes at work because we're inside so often. If you're going somewhere after, and always have a fail-safe, maybe like a jacket of some sort. There too in the background to kind of keep up with. All right, coming up this hour, we're going to get to Charlie Sounds of the Day, things Sparky missed. Tyler Dunne, golongtd.com, a great piece with a Packer player that hates Chicago, hates the Bears. Music to my ears when I read that story today. It was so good. Oh, I love it so much. I know a jersey. I haven't bought a jersey in so long. I may have to buy this dude's jersey. That comes up at 4:15. But first, this.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
All right, so Matt LaFleur down at the meetings down in Arizona. I saw somebody tweet out it was 90 degrees outside down there.
Nice.
Don't ask me to feel sorry for you that it's 90.
Good little vacation, yeah.
Yes, but don't ask people in Wisconsin. You're like, oh, it's 90. We feel so
We're
bad.
almost 80 here, Sparky.
Yes, we're getting there, but I'm just saying, like, nobody cares that it's 90 where you're at. Here is Matt LaFleur talking about the whole situation that happened with Rich Bisaccia leaving the Packers.
I never had that direct conversation with him, but he came in to me after we got back and just was hoping that he'd have a different feeling. And, you know, the guy's done it for a long time, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think a lot of it has to do with getting closer back to home, his home base. Obviously, Freed's family is very important to him, and he's got ties down in Florida. So I think that was a big reason as to why.
Did you have any initial conversations with him after the season that maybe he wouldn't be back from any other reason, or were you operating under the assumption?
Yeah, I would say we were operating under the assumption that he was going to be back.
Operating under the assumption he was going to be back. They also asked him, have you talked to Bisaccia since this all went down? Do you want to know what his answer was?
What was that?
No.
Of course he hasn't.
What? What are we doing? What do you mean no? I'm telling you right now, I promise you, if somebody had been with me and it was an integral part of this radio staff here at the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, and they're like, yeah, I quit. I'm going somewhere else or whatever else. I'm going to follow up and find out, well, why? Like, where are you going? Why don't you want to be here? Like, is there something we could have done differently? Especially if I wanted to keep the person, I would be trying to figure out what went sideways and why you're leaving. That I would have the conversation. Now, if you don't care, fine. The one thing about this is Bisaccia apparently gave him a list, even though they apparently haven't talked, gave him a list of guys that he would recommend for the special teams coordinator's job. And one of them, there was the guy they hired, Acorn, is the guy they hired off the list.
Maybe that was the deal. Maybe Matt LaFleur just didn't care that Bisaccia was leaving, which he should. It was late into the offseason. You don't want to have to deal with finding a replacement that quickly. But at the same time, if this is a guy that you weren't really happy being a part of your staff and they just were making you keep him around, or this was a decision that you weren't really a fan of, I don't know. Maybe you're okay with moving on from him.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing seems weird to me. Matt LaFleur talking about getting his contract done earlier in the offseason. These clips, by the way, from Ryan Wood.
Well, I mean, it's just like every other season you go through and have a lot of conversations. And certainly, you know, I'm ecstatic to obviously be back in the Packers. I think this is a one-on-one organization. I love the people that we have in our building, in our organization, not only on our team, but like just within the totality of the organization. So, you know, my agents have the conversations, and you know, we're looking at deal done.
From your standpoint, was it fairly smooth process?
Yeah, I mean, like as anything, there's always, you know, a back and forth a little bit of negotiations, but yeah, it was really easy. And, you know, I've got a direct line of communication with Ed, and so yeah, I would say it was a positive experience.
Matt, when did you know that you were going to be back?
That's a great question. I mean, I had some indications, like I would say before, right after the season. It was pretty quick.
When you went into those couple days right after the last time we spoke with you, did you have a lot of uncertainty in your mind on what the future might be?
No, I mean, like, honestly, it was out of my control. So I try not to. It's hard not to. There's the human element to it, but I try not to like focus on things that I cannot control. So.
See, that's the thing. He says, try not to focus on things I can't control. That's a big problem for a lot of people in society today, focusing on things they can't control. God knows I stress over stuff I can't control. Having said all of that, this is the question I wish would have been asked, okay? Did Ed Policy have that NFLPA report card prior to you guys getting that extension? And if so, what was the conversation like with him and you leading up to that? That would be what I'd like to know. Or did he get that after the fact, Charlie?
I think these are a lot of questions that Ed Policy should have been asking immediately after if he didn't already know these types of things. And if he was asking those types of questions afterwards, I don't know, I feel like there would have been more buzz about it. So that tells me that he kind of knew a lot of this stuff was at least in the works prior to giving this contract extension to Matt LaFleur. And like we've talked about in the past, I mean, just seeing what's happening on the field, and Matt LaFleur talked about that, yes, the finishing the games is a problem, but at the same time, Matt LaFleur is still one of the best at the job. And he is consistently showing that each season. Yes, last season didn't finish well, but they didn't have any of their star players on the field for any amount of time in those last 5 games of the year. And Matt LaFleur did what he could with that group. And I think this year, yes, his seat may be a little bit hotter, but at the same time, you have to give him some kind of reassurance that you know he is that good.
I got one more for you, and we got to get to Tyler Dunne. This is Matt LaFleur talking about not being able to finish games in 2025.
Yeah, that's been on the forefront of my mind. You know, I think it definitely starts with mentality, but it's got to be in everything we do. In everything we do, from as soon as we get on the grass, and you know, whether it's individual, there's got to be a start to finish to every drill. It's just, I think it's got to be constantly on our mind, because that is the one thing that we did not do last year. We lost way too many games late in the game where we had leads, or just had opportunities to close people out and we didn't get it done.
with all due respect to his, finishing out drills and all this other nonsense. Stop. That's not what it was. It's just not what it was. This is on you all. This is, y'all can disagree. This is on him. This is on his coaching staff for not helping these guys to close out games. Now, if you're going to tell me that you watched those Packer games last year and you said, they really didn't play hard for 4 quarters. They kind of pulled up and didn't play as hard when they were up 21-3. Effort, kind of subsided, and those guys didn't give as much effort because they thought it was in the bag. If that's your take on why they didn't close out games, then you're right. Then it's on the players. But if that's not it, and there's other things at work here, namely coaching, execution, play calling on that type of stuff, as far as the aggressive nature they had to what it ended up being before the end of the game ended, or not making adjustments to the other team's adjustments at halftime. That's what I think the issue was. That is on the coaching staff, Charlie.
You probably should have lost 3 Bears games because of that. And Keyshawn Nixon saved your butt in the one that you did win because
Caleb Williams saved our butt throwing it to him.
Well, but Keyshawn Nixon broke the coverage and went the opposite way when Evan Williams went
Yep.
the wrong way because they just weren't coached up well enough for a moment like that. So because the wide receiver was wide open, Keyshawn Nixon had the right idea to run over there and make a big play. And Caleb Williams didn't see him coming because he was thrown across the field and thought the guy was going to be wide open. I mean, all of this says that there's issues that are so blatant in front of you that, like Matt LaFleur said, that should be on his mind since the season ended.
And you change the defensive coordinator. You change the coaching staff with Gannon coming in and hiring new defensive coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if that fixes the defensive side of the thing. Matt LaFleur's offensive reasoning for why he didn't change the offense made little to no sense. He pretty much said, we're just going to tear it all down to the studs and start back over again.
Except for you have everybody that's still there.
No, but he's saying they're going to tear the offense down and start back over again and rebuild the offense anew. So what this offense is going to look like, what they decide to do differently, we don't know. It will be advantage Green Bay Packers if there is a significant change with this offense. Meaning, if they get together in the offseason, they're like, hey, we want Jordan Love to throw the ball 30 to 35 times a game. That's going to be a distinct move potentially from how they were attacking the offense going forward. So if they decide we're going to put more of the responsibility in this offense on the quarterback, take less of it off the shoulders of the running back, that's something other teams will not be prepared for when the season starts. Eventually, they're going to make adjustments, and then we'll be back to that game again of what Matt does at that point.
But he said he's going to tear it down to the studs in response to a question on why he kept his entire offensive coaching staff.
Right.
So if you're keeping those same guys around, I find it very difficult to be able to change any kind of or make any kind of real changes with the same mentalities all surrounding you. Like, you have to bring new minds into the room for that to happen.
We're going to find out. Coming up next, Tyler Dunne, GoLongTD.com, will join us and tell us who that Packer player is that he wrote a big piece on today, GoLongTD.com, who hates the Bears, hates Chicago, hates everything about Chicago. Well, there's one thing he likes, but the rest of it he can't stand. We'll tell you who that is coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Winners. That's what you want to hang around with is winners. Habish, and Rotier, they are winners. National reputation, hometown service. For more information, go to Habish.com. They're there for you if you're hurt in a car accident. That is where you turn to. Habish attorneys are experienced, approachable, dedicated to help clients pursue the compensation that they deserve. They use the word approachable. I've used the word bedside manner. I've said treat you like family or friends. That is what you want. Somebody that's not going to look at you as a number or a notch in a belt of, oh boy, I got these many case victories this month. That was another one. It wasn't for that much, but it was another one. You want somebody that's going to give you maximum effort and do everything in their power to get you what you deserve at the end of the day. And when you have 13 locations and you've been doing this since 1930, Habish, and Rotier, they've proved their point. They're the best. And why wouldn't you want the best in your time of need and confusion and being scared? Been there, done the whole car accident thing and feeling like I have no idea what to do next. And you're just looking for somebody to help you. That's what they're here for. Habish, and Rotier. Check them out today. Habish.com. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. Charlie, who's in producing. My thanks to Tim Dillard for joining us there in the 3 o'clock hour. If you missed it, sure, go back and listen to it. WISportsradio.com. Go back, watch it on YouTube or on X as we live stream everything at WI Sports Radio. All kinds of news today. Brewers get an outfielder from the Giants and Matos. Then they, according to Bob Nightingale, MLB insider, are close on a deal with Bryce Terang. 8 years, $50 million. A couple of years at the end of that deal, options of $15 million a year. So if Bryce Terang ends up being good, they pretty much stole him. But this also means that now they don't have to worry about service time issues or anything else. Now they can bring up Bryce Terang today if they wanted. Well, once the deal is signed. I don't think it's signed yet.
Cooper Pratt.
Yeah, Cooper. What did I say?
Bryce Terang. I'm so confused for a second.
Good God almighty. Yes, Cooper Pratt. That's who I meant, not Bryce Terang. Bryce Terang would be a complete idiot to sign that deal if they offered it to him. No, Cooper Pratt, yes, signed that deal. So he's at AAA right now. But this just means that if they decide, okay, we've had enough of Joey Ortiz, Cooper Pratt can come up whenever they want. If they want to move Joey Ortiz to third base and let Cooper Pratt play short, they could do that too. Remember, Ortiz has played third base in the past, so those are now all viable options. Now we got to talk more about the Green Bay Packers. A great piece at golongtd.com. He joins us on video, again at X and on YouTube, WI Sports Radio. He is Tyler Dunne from golongtd.com. Follow him on X at Ty Dunne. Joining us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Mr. Dunne, how the heck are you, buddy?
Sparky, it is so good to see you and hear you.
Yeah.
I figured after the last appearance when all of Wisconsin got to hear Ella's dance practice, it was only right to do this right.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I got no issue with it. So a great piece today on a current Green Bay Packer, not a Packer from the 80s, right? Not somebody that played under Forrest Gregg in the 80s. That's not who said this. This is a current Green Bay Packer who talks about hating the Bears, hating the city of Chicago, well, outside of the food, but hates everything else about Chicago. I'm sorry. I got so excited. I haven't bought a jersey in forever. I may go buy me a Javon Bullard jersey now, Mr. Dunne.
You know what? And I think that probably is the number one takeaway is football's a violent game.
Yeah.
It's okay to hate your rival. Where has this been? Where we haven't heard a player in Green Bay speak about the Bears, speak about football in general, quite like this. At least I haven't. So that was really the impetus to flying down to Atlanta, hopping in that rental car, driving out to the middle of nowhere, Georgia, to sit down with Javon Bullard. Like everybody else, I heard what he had to say after that surreal, total meltdown, and my ears perked up. Wow. Haven't really heard that much at all from Green Bay Packer players after epic playoff loss to epic playoff loss. I mean, hell, when they lost to San Francisco in 2012, none of the defensive players even showed up in the locker room the next day. It was just Desmond Bishop, and he was on IR answering for all the Kaepernick stuff. So, yeah, it was refreshing. So I went down there, and, yeah, he was taking it to an extreme that I wasn't even quite ready for. So thanks so much for reading, everyone.
It is an amazing story. And what you learn about Javon Bullard is that he does not care whether people like him or not. He doesn't care if everybody wants to hate him in Chicago or hate him wherever the case may be. His deal is to play with violence and to pretty much go through people when he's making a tackle and to make a big hit. And there's a story in there about him versus A.J. Brown of the Eagles from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I think that really you can take it all the way back. Well, he started playing football when he's age 5, right? He's putting on the pads very young, and he's always the little guy on every team playing with his older brother. But anyways, high school football, start there. I mean, he's returning a punt, and he sees it's a fake. He knows exactly where that receiver is going to get the ball. 15-yard dead-out sprint. I talked to his high school coach about this play, and he goes, wait a minute, I got to send it to you. Text me the clip. Says he decapitated the kid. Didn't literally decapitate him. There wasn't a skull rolling around the field.
They thought he might have killed him, is what I read.
It's like he split the guy in half. It is vicious. I linked to it in the story. So this is somebody who has always attacked football a certain way, crossing that line. Because I feel like if you're always just going to be hesitant and tentative and dance around that line like we've seen so often out of defensive players in Green Bay, that doesn't win in January, right?
Correct.
And so credit to Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Packers, for taking a risk on a Javon Bullard, somebody who took out Marvin Harrison Jr. in the CFP semifinal and had 22.1 million people watching. All of Columbus wanted to kill the guy.
They thought it was targeting. And then when you look back at the film, you realize that was a clean hit. It was just violent.
That's what's wild about Javon Bullard is you watch these highlights. His coach made this point too. And in real time, it looks dirty. It looks vicious. It looks like he should get thrown out of the league. And then you slow it down, and he is able to find that bullseye, find that target zone that is legal, even though it's shrinking every year, and blast you. So that's what he did to A.J. Brown as a rookie, week 1. A.J. Brown stalking him down the field at the second level, and Bullard just lights him up, stares down at him, shakes his head. And so, yeah, it is refreshing, because if you were to take this big picture, Ted Thompson, God rest his soul, did a lot of good things as general manager. He didn't really take a risk on a player who brings this kind of an edge, brings this kind of a temperament, tells you he's going to send you in tomorrow, and then does exactly that.
That's the other thing. Talking with Tyler Dunne, golongtd.com. Go read this amazing piece. It's long, so have a cup of coffee with you, but it is so entertaining, and you will come away with a whole different perspective. I'm telling you, Javon Bullard could have played in the 80s for Forrest Gregg, and Forrest Gregg would have absolutely loved Javon Bullard, because these are the type of crazy guys like Chuck Cecil back in the day, those type of guys, which is what Javon Bullard is kind of like at every level. This is how he plays. And he brings up you either brought it up or he brought up the idea of he doesn't talk a ton in the locker room one way or the other, but when he does talk, everybody shuts up and listens.
Right. And I think as a rookie, he was incredibly frustrated with his role. He thought that, it was put this foot forward, put this foot backward before the snap, keep your eyes there, put your eyes there. And it was too robotic, too mechanical. And the way he put it is, but I'm a rookie, so I effing can't say a thing. And so he didn't say anything to the media because he knew it'd be too honest. Didn't really say much to coaches. And then year 2, when he really started watching film and trusting his instincts, this is somebody that grew up on Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, just being creative out there. Look, only Kyle Hamilton gave up less yards per reception. So in the slot, he was locking guys down in addition to making plays. I think as he started balling out and playing, he started to pick and choose his spots. I'll say this too. I was talking to a coach on that Packers staff who said, after reading that story, we want Javon Bullard speaking up more. This is what our team needs. We need somebody who is going to call out that Bears game for what it was, a catastrophe, a disaster.
Even to this day, he said, we were the better team. They didn't win that game. We essentially lost that game because we were doing things that we normally would never do in a situation like that.
Yeah, and he said, in the heat of the game, the heat of the battle, when they're up 21-3, he's looking into the eyes of these Bears players and seeing fear and dread and worry and concern. And he said, in that moment, we got to know how to take MFers out. Said a lot of things I can't necessarily say on the radio.
Yeah, there was a lot of swearing in this interview. Yes, there was. Yes, there was a lot of swearing.
If anything, it was toned down. This is the way the guy talks. I love it. But he said, we're on y'all bleep, and you're acting like you MFers don't even want to play no more. But we need that instinct to kill MFers' hope. No, not today, not tomorrow. Y'all through. We're going to beat your bleep. I don't think we've got that as a team yet, but we've got another year to prove it.
So is Gannon the guy then?
Blunt language.
But is Gannon the guy to take that and light some gas underneath that fire and spread it into the rest of the locker room? Halfway to me, again, not being a defensive means, halfway to me, nice guy, like LaFleur, kind of chilled a little bit, could get up a little bit, but really wasn't going to be that fire starter, right? He wasn't going to be that guy. Will Gannon be that guy that preaches, we want to play like this dude? We want to have the mentality that this dude has. This is how everybody needs to go about our business going forward. Is he going to push that agenda Or is he going to kind of just lay back? We'll see what happens. We'll see who goes with it. Because not everybody mentally is built that way. And in the story, he talks about, shootings and everything else going up when he was growing up of just, survive in advance, and talking about the fact of, they get together now and they'll play games, and before you know it, people are all mad at each other, swearing, hollering, and yelling because everybody is so competitive in his family and friend group. That's how it ends up being. I mean, that is a mentality that is grown over the course of many years. That's not something where you can just automatically put it into a dude's brain, into the locker room that doesn't have it, Tyler.
You put it perfectly. I think Dan Campbell, Mike Vrabel, pick your alpha head coach, they would say the same exact thing. You can't just go to CVS, buy yourself some toughness pills, and become somebody that's just going to, pancake people on a football field.
Oh, I would have bought those a while ago if those were available. Yeah.
Javon Bullard, like you said, growing up in Milledgeville, he'd be at a house party, at a block party. He said, you'd look in the corner of your eye and there's somebody with a baggy shirt, sagging pants, they're carrying a firearm. And as soon as he starts whispering to somebody else, you better book it. And you kind of learn the bob and weave. Unlike Rickon from Game of Thrones, I must say, who went in a straight line, and that was his demise. Javon Bullard said he learned to zigzag, bob and weave, literally avoiding bullets while he's taking out all these guys on a football field. So you're wired that way. If you're a coach, you don't want to pull that back. And Javon gets into all of this in the story. You don't want to be putting up all these guardrails and caution tape and construction cones in your mind on a football field, in your defensive players' minds. And I do wonder if Matt LaFleur does some of that. So to me, it's not necessarily a Jonathan Gannon question. I think we saw it in Arizona. He got right into a teammate's face and got into trouble for it. So I think he is a fiery DC in that mold that you're kind of describing. But Matt LaFleur is the head coach. Teams take on the personality of their head coaches. He's been brilliant. His development of Jordan Love has been about as good as we've seen in the modern NFL, with where he was, where he is now. Innovative, X's and O's, there's no question in all of that. But then you look at all of these leads that they blow. You look at giving up, 307 on the ground to Baltimore, blowing a 10-0 lead to Cleveland, losing to Chicago the first time when your win probability is 98, 99% at one point, and then giving up that 21-3 lead. That speaks to the DNA of your football team. So, we get into this in the story with some examples. I think there are times in practice, maybe you should practice how you want to play. You can't just put a switch on Sunday. You've got to bring that energy day in and day out those other days of the week.
There he is, Tyler Dunne. I'm telling you, it's a great piece. GoLongTD.com. Learn all about Javon Bullard, and then go buy his jersey because he hates the Bears as much as you and I hate the Bears. Follow him on X at Ty Dunne. Thank you so much for coming on, dude. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Sparky. Appreciate you.
You betcha. Take care. There he is, Tyler Dunne, joining us on the Guest Hotline. Powered by Gruber Law. One call. That is all. Coming up next, we got to get to Charlie Sounds of the Day and things Sparky missed. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. 2,000 square foot center screen, 2 levels of seating. The Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen, 48 different beers on tap, a dozen different specialty cocktails, full menu, including an all-day brunch at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen. Plus, you have shuttles to and from Brewers games all season long. Got to make a purchase inside the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen. Tell them you want a bracelet to get on the shuttle after you make your purchase. And you're off to the races and ready to have a great time there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, or heading over to the Brewers game on their shuttle. More details, simply go to Potawatomi.com. Again, that's Potawatomi.com. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Fifer with you. Don't forget the leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz. Get you ready for Brewers baseball today from 5 until 6:30. First pitch at 6:40. Then after the last pitch, you'll make the switch back here to the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network for the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz immediately following that one. Make sure to keep it locked in to the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Hey, Wendy's really outdid themselves with these new biggie deals at $4, $6, and $8. The new biggie deals are bigger and biggier than ever. If you're feeling something snacky, you can get the $4 biggie bites. Something medium, get yourself a $6 biggie bag, the junior bacon cheeseburger. If you want to go full biggie, you can get the $8 biggie bundle with your choice of 2 sandwiches, a small soft drink, and a junior fry. The choice is yours. For a pretty biggie deal, it's got to be Wendy's.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, Charlie, use and where to first?
All right, we are heading on over to Talking Baseball with Trevor Plouffe and Jake Story-Alley. This is Trevor Plouffe saying he's out on pinch hitting.
I'm so out on pinch hitting. I know we're going to talk about Christian Yelich and what he did, but here's my quick take on it. There's no pinch hitters anymore, dude. There just isn't, because we don't have the National League. Like, there used to be guys whose job was to pinch hit. That is, unless you are just a complete platoon guy and you're Rob Refsnyder and there's a lefty coming in, I understand that. But like bringing in someone that has an off day, cold off the bench for like a marginal platoon split, I'm out on it, dude. Give me the other guy who's had 3 at-bats already. Give me that guy, because no one is built to pinch hit anymore. I mean, there's maybe 10 guys in the big leagues. I'd be like, yeah, get that guy up there. Like even your stars, they don't know how to do it, dude.
I'm assuming this was before Christian Yelich?
This was after. This was this morning. I was listening to the podcast.
So he wasn't aware that Christian Yelich had a pinch hit?
No, he was. He started it with saying, "I know we're going to talk about Christian Yelich."
Oh, that's how we started it. Right. This is the thing. When we start talking, I'm quickly looking up while you were saying that. I was looking up how many pinch hit appearances Trevor Plouffe actually had in his career. Do you know how many pinch hit appearances he had in his career?
Probably way more than Christian Yelich, because he wasn't nearly as good, but 10, 20, 30?
3.
Oh, all right.
0 for 2 with a walk. That's all he had. In his career, he had 3. Now, the one thing that he doesn't tell you is how difficult it is to be a pinch hitter. Remember Lenny Harris? Been around, was around a long time, major leaguer. He was great coming off the bench, being that guy that would come in and pitch hit in a big opportunity. I mean, Counsell, I think he was pretty good at it, too, if memory serves correct, back when he was playing. I mean, there is something to it. Going from being cold, not performing. I mean, Tim Dillard was on earlier talking about Yelich in the 6th inning was at the end of the bench with a sweatshirt on and a sweatshirt up over his head, the hood over his head, just chilling, not talking to anybody, watching the game all by himself at the end. 8th inning comes, boop, he disappears, and he's working in the cage, getting ready to come in in case he's needed. Because again, Pat Murphy told him that. To get rid of the pinch hit in general, I'm 1,000% about getting rid of the pinch hit. That adds to the drama, the righty-lefty matchup. We go to the bullpen, and now I announce one guy, you can bring in somebody else after you make your. That's all part of the strategy of the game from a manager and what they do, and finding those good bench guys that are good at doing just that, being that pinch hitter. No, they're not everyday players in the big league. They're not good at that, but they're good in that art form.
Well, and I guess I don't think he's arguing that they should get rid of the pinch hitter. I think he's just saying that the pinch hitter is already kind of dead. And this goes back to what we were talking about with Pat Murphy earlier in the show, is that he keeps this kind of idea of, I'm having this guy ready for a specific moment in this game. And I think that's what Trevor Plouffe is saying is mostly dead across baseball, is that a lot of coaches are just kind of putting in a guy out on the field because the guy that is out there is cold. He's having an 0 for 3 day and you just want to switch it up. He's saying that's a bad decision in clutch moments, where there's been other teams that have done that throughout the past couple of years. Because again, their managers just have maybe a more a futuristic view on the game than maybe a Pat Murphy.
I still think Plouffe is not right on this. Matt Stairs, former Milwaukee Brewer, set the all-time record with 23 pinch hit home runs over a 19-year career. Lenny Harris, I told you about him. I looked him up too. Holds the MLB record for the most career pinch hits with 212 over an 18-season career. I mean, there are guys, again, that kind of made careers of this whole deal doing just that. And it is very, very difficult. All right, what's next?
Next up, we're going to head over to Yahoo Sports Daily, where Jeff Passan was on their show, and he was discussing why the ABS system, which a lot of people are arguing has been bad for the umpires so far, he explains why it's actually showing how good the umps are.
Part of the beauty of this ABS system is that when there are misses, it tells you the size of the miss, right? And when you see the majority of the misses are less than 1 inch, does that not suggest to you that these men and women who are back there squatting and trying to track in real time pitches that are going up to 105 miles per hour and that are going side to side up to 25 inches and that are going top to bottom 30 inches, like these unreal movements that happen on a baseball field and that pitchers can generate these days, and that umps are as close as they are, I look at it like, oh my God, these people have been doing incredible work for a long time now, and that this system's just here more than anything to catch the egregious ones. And that I understand, like when it's this close and you see it like that, the fans get very excited about that. But that to me, it's like umpires are awesome. And this is just a complimentary thing to the great job that they typically do already anyway.
Great viewpoint. Marvelous viewpoint. I'd give you a standing ovation if I could. You're absolutely right. When you're missing stuff by 1/10 of an inch or 3/10 of an inch on the bottom of the strike zone or just to the outside, they're not missing by 6 inches and you miss the call. Again, if I took a normal person, put him behind there, first of all, they would be scared for their life as the ball is coming to the catcher, that the catcher is going to catch the ball. And then you're going to ask him if it's a strike or not. You know how long it would take you to figure out, to let your eyes adjust to see all that stuff? That's crazy. They're crazy good. No question. Nicely done by Jeff Passan. All right, what's up?
And last up, we're going to hear from new LSU head coach from his press conferences earlier today. And he was discussing how he left NC State from his point of view.
I think some of the things have been mischaracterized on how I left, but I'm not going to get into I don't want to get it. I learned long ago. I'm not going to get into a back and forth on all of that. The people who need to know. And look, everybody has to, when there's a situation like this, everybody has to cover has to cover. Let's put it that way. And so I'm not, I'm at peace with how I left. I'm at peace with what we did. And, look, I mean, they're pretty mad for a coach they didn't think was very good. So
the whole place was laughing after he said that last part.
Gotta be kidding me. Again, this goes back to just not understanding the situation at all. Not understanding completely how pissed off people were when that whole thing happened to begin with. And now you're back after essentially getting probation from LSU. Now they can bring you back. So now here you are again, back in the same situation again. I don't think anybody is debating how good of a coach Will Wade is. I think people realize he's a good basketball coach. I don't think that's the issue. The issue is what all went down there the last time, and now you bring him back again to do this all over again. The power of boosters, I promise you.
And when you factor in the Lane Kiffin situation, this end of football season, and how that all went down, and then you follow that up with basically the same slimy move that Lane Kiffin did. Not only does it look bad on you, but like LSU, come on, don't you care at all? No. Like, doesn't the image matter at all that these guys are coming? Well, and
they want to win.
It's showing in the recruiting that these players don't care about it at all either.
They want to win too. They want to win, and they want to have a chance to go to the NFL or the NBA. And if these two guys are going to give them that opportunity, they could care less about the rest of it.
They'll just go to those players and say, hey, I know what it's like to be in this situation where this team is offering you a whole lot of money, and I took it and changed my life. So those tell the players the same exact thing.
Absolutely. And again, Doug Gottlieb talked about this, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago, on Inside Wisconsin Sports. Man, you're going to tell a kid that's getting offered $300,000 to go somewhere else and play, and you're offering them $75,000 or $100,000 to say no to that money and be loyal to the university. Like, how can you say that in good faith when a majority of people would take that money to go to a new job? I promise you, if I went to Charlie and said, hey, man, the rival is interested, rival network, radio network, let's say it's Fox Sports Radio or whoever, right, comes forward and they want to offer Charlie $300,000 a year to go be the lead producer / host of his own afternoon show and make significantly more money than he does here. And do you think I'm going to go tell Charlie, no, man, don't take it. Be loyal to us. We're the ones that brought you up. Don't leave. Hell no. I'm gonna be like, here, I'll help you pack. Like, let's get you on a plane to wherever you got to go get this job. Like, you have to understand that that's life-changing money to a lot of kids and a lot of families.
I think the problem that a lot of people are having, though, is the fact that 3 years ago, even, this wasn't considered a job. It was considered kids playing basketball and kids going out there and playing the sports that they love. And now all of a sudden it's a job, but it's not a job. It's still just those kids playing basketball, and that this is all just the same thing, except you're pushing money and shoving money in their faces. It's predatory. That's what it feels like. And the fact that they sit here and pretend like it's not, that's what's frustrating to people. Not the fact that it's happening, but that you're just not open about what's happening.
What story did Sparky miss talking about today on Wisconsin Sports Daily? Don't you worry. Sparky's got you covered now. Don't miss Milwaukee Admirals hockey this season. Don't just buy tickets. Invest in memories at MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
All right, in case you missed it earlier, Tim Allen, Tommy Wirtz joined us at the end of the 2 o'clock hour, talking about the breaking news. Bob Nightingale, first to report. Brewers looking at finalizing an 8-year deal for slightly more than $50 million. A 21-year-old prize shortstop prospect Cooper Pratt, who currently is at AAA. The deal will include 2 option years for about $15 million a year. That means no worries about service time or anything else with Cooper Pratt going forward. They can call him up once his deal is done and leave him up there and let him learn on the job like they did with Jackson Churio at that point, not having to worry about everything else. So that is definitely something that's going to be the headline as well. Brewers get Matos, the outfielder from the Giants, Luis Matos, who's 24 years old, has not lived up to his numbers in the minor leagues to this point. The Giants designated from assignment. The Brewers swooped in and offered him a cash trade to take him and see if they can fix him. And if they can, that might be one hell of a steal that Matt Arnold and company did it. And we didn't even talk about this.
Fitzgerald on a backhand, wedged it in deep. Russell can't get to the puck. Caught!
No! Viva Las Vegas! On Wisconsin to the Frozen Four! On Wisconsin. The women's win the national championship, and now the men are headed to the Frozen Four later this week at Wisconsin. Things are good in Madison if you're a hockey fan right now.
Right. And this is the reason why I think people don't recognize this as why the Badgers can't fund the football or the basketball. It's because their hockey programs do this good. It's because their volleyball programs do this good and do draw in crowds to the point where you kind of have to fund them a little bit, and it takes away from the other big programs, but then people get frustrated about it. But then it's also awesome to see and hear stuff like this.
Yes.
And hear, again, other kids living out that dream, not just the football and basketball players.
And again, it's been like 16, 17 years since the Badgers had even won a game in the NCAA tournament for college hockey. How about this dude here?
Hacks on the 2-1 and drives it to deep left. Joey Weimer's done it again. 2 games as a national, 2 homers. This one a 3-run shot to the Wrigley bleachers. And the Nationals pounce today. And now out to right center off the bat of Weimer. That'll split the gap and get all the way to the wall. Watch Joey Weimer run around second. Looking for a 3-bagger, and he's in there with a head-first slide.
How cool is that? Joey Weimer and the Nationals radio network there. Amazing. Joey Weimer reached base in 8 straight plate appearances to start the season. A franchise record 6 for 6, 2 homers, 2 walks, 4 RBIs to start his career with the Washington Nationals. That dude has always had an immense amount of talent, seemingly has not been able to figure it out. And if he has figured it out, that is a dude that can flat out run and has huge power.
Well, and that's just awesome to see a guy like that succeed. But if you're a Nationals fan, they, I think, sent Dylan Cruz down to AAA to start the season, and they also have Robert Hassel in that outfield. Those are 2 guys that should be a little worried about a job if a guy's starting like this.
Yep. And then who's Woods, the other outfielder?
Woods, yep.
Got him in fantasy. day 1, 0 for 4, couple strikeouts. Sit him in game 2, right? Hits a home run against the Cubs on my bench. Bring him back in game 3, couple more strikeouts, goes 0 for 4.
Whose fault is that? We know.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Nicely done by the Bucks. Had a tribute video for Brooke Lopez. He deserved a tribute video. So nicely done. I thought it was very well put together. A couple minutes long. I think it was Eric Name posted the video. If you didn't see it, you can go back and watch it. So good job by the Milwaukee Bucks taking care of Brooke Lopez there. That'll do it for today's edition of Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Up next, it is the leadoff show, getting ready for Brewers and Rays tonight from 5 until 6:30 with our guy Tommy Wirtz. And after the last pitch, you'll make the switch to the Potawatomi Sportsbook post-game show with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz tonight after game 1 of this series with the Rays. Enjoy the rest of your night, Wisconsin. Have a good one. Toodles.